In a 24-hour convenience store, someone throws an item onto the counter. An angry woman says she wants a refund for the item she threw on the counter. The clerk, a strong and ordinary man, asks if she has the purchase receipt. The woman tries to get a refund for some cigarettes without a receipt and starts arguing about it. She argues, asking what the problem is with giving a refund if a customer asks for it. The clerk asks for the receipt so he can process the refund, and she says she threw it away. Then the man says he can't give a refund, and she asks if he always carries documents when he goes out. The clerk then asks if she throws away her documents as soon as she gets home and questions how he could know whether this isn't a scam to get a refund. Yelling, the woman asks if he's suggesting she's trying to trick him. She tells him to wait while she reports this to the Consumer Protection Agency. Mocking the woman, the man starts swatting flies with a rubber object. At that point, the woman starts walking away, complaining about him, and the man says nothing else. Night falls and someone walks into the convenience store calling for Hisson. His friend says he looks exhausted and tells him he should go home and rest. Notices his friend's left eye is bruised and swollen. Smiling, his friend says it happened during training that day. Quizung says he's amazing because he does M&A studies and also works at this 24-hour store. Trying to be modest, his friend says the store is family-owned. His school is on break. Our MC asks if he really enjoys fighting that much since he always comes back beaten up. His friend says if that's what he thinks, there's nothing he can do and apologizes. Then the friend invites him to watch a fight and cheer for him, and our MC gets excited. He says there's an elite amateur league event on Sunday and he's in the professional tournament. The MC asks if it's true and the friend says if he wins it will be his pro nib, but Y says debuting seems easier than he thought, and the friend says it was hard getting to that point. Our hero takes it back and says it's amazing that he's almost becoming a pro. His friend invites him to watch in person, and Hai agrees, saying it could be a historic moment. Thanking his friend, he says he'll send a message with the address in time. At that moment says goodbye and gets ready to leave the store. We then see the protagonist walking alone on the street at night. He begins to reflect on his friend becoming a professional martial artist. The next morning, W goes to the address his friend gave him. He arrives in front of a building with a sign indicating the Central M&A League. Seeing the venue, our hero finds it strange to go down the stairs and enter. On the phone, his friend asks if he's arrived and the MC says he's at the gym. His friend tells him to go in. He's about to fight and can't leave. Kwai feels weird about just walking in, but the security guard lets him in without any trouble. Our protagonist feels that for a fight tournament this place seems disorganized. He thinks about watching other fights since he's there, but decides to leave after his friend's match. Going down the stairs, he complains that they're dark and winding. He approaches the ring and hears excited shouts from the crowd cheering the fight. They shout about the high kick from the standing fighter who is celebrating his victory. In the middle of the big crowd, MC Wizung starts watching the fights with a spark in his eyes. He watches the fights a bit lost until his friend notices he has arrived. At that moment, Wizung sees his friend shirtless along with two other team members. They ask why Hai looks nervous and he says he's not used to this kind of atmosphere. His friend asks if he finds it fascinating and Wee says he can feel the energy. One of Juan's team members says it's almost time for the fight to start. Juan tells Hui that his match is in a few rounds and asks him to cheer for him. Our MC says his opponent looks more physically built and Jung says that hurt. He stays silent, staring into space while Jong notices he's lost in thought. After a while, the announcer with a microphone says, "It's time to introduce the new fighters." In the blue corner representing the attack team is the fighter Jong Hyun Lee. And in the red corner from the Red Dog team is the fighter Hai Choi with a sinister smile. The referee calls them to the center and our MC closely watches Jong Han. At that moment, the referee asks if the blue corner fighter is ready. Then he asks if the red corner fighter is ready too. When both agree, the referee yells that they can start the fight. The moment at the big bell rings, Ho Choi throws a quick punch. Jong Hyun easily dodges the straight punch by turning his torso to the opposite side. Surprised, Hyuk throws a hook, but John ducks to avoid it. However, Hyuk lands another straight punch with his left arm, hitting Hwan square in the face. After taking the hit, the protagonist's friend raises his guard with his other arm. He plants his stance firmly and lands a solid hook right to his opponent's face. Hyuk takes the punch full on and glares angrily at his opponent. Hyuk prepares an uppercut while Jong throws another straight punch. The result is both landing clean punches on each other at the same time. our hero notices that his friend is fighting with more impatience than usual. The two exchange very fast and destructive punches, staring at each other with rage and focus. Huiseng shouts for Zhang Huanli to slow down with the strikes and stay calm. At the moment, the MC yells that Jung gets punched square in the face, shocking Hai. Hit in the face, Jung steps back a few times, looking dazed and lost. Hasuk Choi takes advantage of the opening and charges toward John. He prepares a massive punch and gets in close quickly before Huan can react. Quizang yells for his friend to be careful, but it's no use. He takes a powerful blow. Struck with a hook to the face, Jing Huan drops at his knees on the octagon floor. The referee quickly steps in to stop Hai from continuing and orders him to stop. With an empty, exhausted look on his face, Jing Huan seems unable to keep fighting. At that moment, the referee shouts that Hai Choi is the winner of this fight. Our MC realizes his friend couldn't handle a blow to the chin well. The fact that Zhang was so close to making his pro debut makes the loss even sadder. Suddenly, the MC gets alarmed and wonders what is happening. At that moment, Hai Choi begins punching Zhang like a maniac with a terrifying expression. Sitting on his opponent's chest, he punches non-stop with extreme force and aggression. The referee quickly grabs the insane fighter and tells him the fight was already over, but Hai throws the referee back and continues to assault his opponent relentlessly. He punches with aggression using the side of his fist. He loads up another punch from above and lands it on Zhang Huanli's chest. Jung's teammates scream for him. Shocked by what's happening, the spectators begin to fear the man might die because of this. RMC takes off his jacket and runs with everything he's got to storm the octagon as he sprints toward his friend to save him. People try to stop him, but he builds momentum and uses his hands to leap over the fight cage. People see the man jumping into the ring and panic, fleeing and running away. After a well-executed jump, our hero lands inside the octagon. He sees Hasuk Choi from behind, still punching his friend with intense insanity. Without thinking, he quickly puts Hyup in a chokehold with his arm. Filled with rage at Hyup Choi, he throws him off violently and yells insults with fury. After attacking the enemy, he rushes to check if his friend lying on the ground is okay. Recovering from the throw, Hai Choi looks at our protagonist with burning rage. People around try to warn Hui that Yosup has gotten up behind him and is preparing a strike. Our hero senses Hai's punch just as it's about to land on him. Reacting quickly, without much thought, he blocks the punch with his palm. But the punch is so strong that it sends him flying into the side fence of the ring. Hyup Choi keeps attacking Hiseng, demanding to know who he thinks he is for doing that. With great difficulty and effort, our hero blocks the punches with his forearm and high guard until he's caught off guard and takes an unexpected blow to the back of his neck. Lowering his guard from the hit, Hyas takes the chance to land a knee to his face. Everyone watching the fight is in disbelief at the knee to the face. After all, he's just an ordinary person. While the MC takes the hits in his friend's place, someone starts entering from the edge of the ring. One of Zhang's team members jumps into the ring and orders Hyup to stop, saying this time he won't get away with just a suspension. He demands that he stop immediately, but Hai doesn't listen and in a frenzy lands another knee to the protagonist's torso. Wise feels immense pain and shows it by gritting his teeth and cursing a Hassup. Furious at the enemy, slaps the ground and uses all his strength to get up. He then uses his torso and the strong push to land an uppercut to Hassup's chin. As soon as Hyuk takes the blow to the chin, he seems to go unconscious while still in midair. His breathes in relief, and Jung's teammates are completely stunned by what just happened. A man in a suit among the crowd is also shocked by the punch. After this unexpected strike, fighter Hai Choi falls to the ground knocked out. Our protagonist breathes his sigh of relief after managing to knock out the maniac Yos. The guards order him to be restrained and unfairly jump on our hero. He tries to argue that he was also attacked and says it's totally unfair. He starts being dragged out of the ring by several security guards protesting the injustice. Watching this unfold, the mysterious man in the suit says he's a hidden gem. Night falls and we see the two friends having coffee together, both badly injured. Wesong asks what the result of the fight was. Django Huan Li says there was no dispute. Hai was banned from the Elite Li indefinitely. Hai asks if that counted as his pro debut and Jung says it doesn't count since he didn't win fairly. He thanks his friend for showing up and we asks him to cover his shift at work. Wizong asks Zhang why he wanted to see him if he should actually be resting. Zhang simply says he wanted to talk about something specific with our protagonist. When asked what it's about, he asks not to be judged and we hopes it's something good. At that moment, Jang Hyun Lee asks if Wizung has any interest in trying out for MA. Our MC is shocked and reacts with a stunned expression as he receives a business card from his friend. Taking the card in hand, he reads the name Elite FC and the director Yang Eun-jang. Yang was impressed after the knockout and wants to train high to become a professional fighter. Jung tells Wizung to give it a shot. It's not every day you get an opportunity like this. Our hero asks if his friend really believes he can do it. Even though he's interested in the offer, there are things that worry him. After all, his parents went through hard times when he used to do sports. His friend calls his attention and says his tragic backstory doesn't matter right now. Then he jokes that he's kidding and asks why Hae reacted that way, to which Huey replies that he was being serious. After the jokes, John Wanley decides to tell his own story to our protagonist. He says that getting started in MMA was easy at first. After watching a match by chance, he thought it would be fun to become a fighter. Besides that, he sure noticed he doesn't have what it takes to be a champion. Hearing this from his friend, Wizung asks if he still wants to keep fighting even so without hesitation. Jung says yes, because it's exciting and he doesn't care about becoming a champion. He says he only does it because he enjoys it and thinks it's fun. He adds that you don't need a big reason to do what you love. After hearing what his friend said and looking at his own hand, remembering the uppercut, our MC repeats the phrase he heard from Jong and starts to consider becoming a fighter. He clenches his fist tightly as if he's made his decision about this. He gets up without saying much and his friend asks if he's leaving. Wai replies that it's getting late. Determined and smiling widely, he says that starting tomorrow he'll be very busy. Hwan is happy for his friend and wishes him good luck on his journey. In return, the MC wishes the same for Jang Hwang Lee and says goodbye. John watches Wizeng walking away while sipping his orange juice, and he can already clearly picture him becoming a professional fighter inside a ring that fills Jang Hwan's eyes with light and hope. After imagining all of that, he returns to reality and sees Wai on the street, then bursts into laughter. He laughs at himself, realizing he's daydreaming about things that haven't even happened yet. The director of Elite SC is on the phone with someone and says he'll meet that person later. His assistant asks if the director is in a meeting and says it's with the current star of the Central League. The assistant adds that everyone is after the man who knocked out a professional fighter. The aide asks if Yang wants to turn him into a professional, and the director replies by asking if he's really ready for that. In response, the aide says it was just one punch and the opponent was already worn out. Young asks his assistant if he really thinks that was just a lucky shot. Then the director says the boy has a long road ahead and calls him knave. He admits that Hui's causes a lot of problems, but says his durability is top tier among amateurs. Even worn out from the fight, it would be impossible for a normal guy to knock him out with a single punch. Yang is about to say something else, but his time to leave is come and he rushes off. He says goodbye to his assistant, who wishes director Yang a good trip. Yang knows that for fighters, there are things just as important as their fighting skills. The days of surviving on combat ability alone are over. The director believes fighters need to be able to talk trash and provoke their opponents, as well as having talent and humor to entertain fans of the sport. Yang's intuition tells him that the kid has what it takes to become a complete fighter. This potential in Hisong could turn him into a martial arts star. The next day at a cafe, Hisong talks with Yang about his desire to train him. He asks the director what he saw in him to reach that conclusion, and Yang decides to show him instead of just saying it. He opens his laptop and shows the moment when Hisong took's knee, and without falling immediately followed up with an uppercut to the chin that knocked him out. Says that was just a lucky punch, but the elite director doesn't believe it. Yang says Gui turned his left foot, shifted his weight, and rotated his right foot inward, then followed through with his upper body to throw a heavy punch. The elite director says it wasn't just a normal uppercut, it was a knockout blow. He refuses to believe what Hisong said about it being lucky and unintentional. Our protagonist says in fact, both moves were lucky, and Yang is surprised. Hai says he saw an opening after being hit and just punched without thinking much. Young asks if he only punched Kyo because he saw an opening and says, "Why is insane in the best way?" Smiling confidently, he confirms that his intuition wasn't wrong. He then asks if Gyuong has ever played any sports in his life. Our hero says he played baseball for 3 years in elementary school. Then he practiced a Korean martial art for 6 years during middle and high school. Yang says it's no wonder clearly has visible natural talent. He decides to get straight to the point and asks if the boy wants to take the MA test. For a few seconds, our hero stays silent without answering the question until he responds affirmatively and confidently that he does want to take the test with him. But before Yang can speak further, W says he's worried about the financial side of things. He doesn't think he'll debit it overnight and assumes it must be expensive to become a professional fighter. He doesn't want his family to go through tough times again because of him. Yang, the director, pauses and reflects on what he just heard. He asks if the kid really earns 1,000,000 won per month. The director of Elite FC says he'll match that amount so Hei doesn't struggle financially. In addition, they'll provide training equipment and he won't have to worry about it. After all, if he's working part-time, his income would be similar in any basic job elsewhere. Our protagonist is skeptical about whether all of this is really going to be free. The director says he'll do a sparring test and he needs to impress the CEO. Wai asks what happens if he doesn't and Yang says he'll go back to his regular life. Yang figures the boy doesn't want to experience failure. He adds that the choice leaves and asks if he has any more questions. When asked where the test will be, Young says it will be at Zhang's gym and that he'll receive training there. We ask the director if they can change the test date. When he says that, the director agrees that 1 month is short and asks if he has another date in mind. Surprising Yang, who is left in shock, our hero says the test could be today. The director spits out his coffee and is in disbelief that the test would be today and what confirms he wants to do it today. Yang wonders what's going on with him and asks if this is really serious. Very confident and determined, Wizong states that he would like to take the test today. Once again, the director of Elite Martial Arts questions if he truly wants to do the test now. Yang asks for an explanation of why he wants to take the test on this particular day. He comments that MMA isn't as easy as it looks, and we says that's exactly why. After all, whether he takes the test today or in a month, his fighting skill level won't change much. Strangely enough, Yang knows Quizung is right about that. However, the director adds that they need to find a training partner for him. He decides to meet halfway and schedule the test for next week, but we find that pointless. Yang thinks it's better for him to learn the basics to take the test properly, and he agrees. The director says that's all for today and sets the MA test for 1 week later in the afternoon. He says it's not too late and asks if the MC won't regret this decision. Surprisingly, Wizong decides that he won't back out of the test. Yang doesn't even try to argue since he senses Hai's confidence and confirms the test for 1 week later. Our MC stands up from the table, says he's heading out and ends the meeting. Yang hopes he'll be ready and with certainty, Hai says he will be ready in 1 week. After leaving the cafe, our MC heads to the attack team facility. Upon arrival, he faces the local attack team where he'll be training. He climbs the stairs and arrives at the door inside the large building leading to the training room. He opens the door and greets everyone inside kindly. Soon he notices several very strong fighters training intensely with gym weights. The men train together and help each other with fighting stances. Others practice by punching targets with force. Seeing the strength of the fighters there, our MC is even a little intimidated. Jang notices Hisong and asks why he's standing there doing nothing. The two friends joke with each other, teasing and laughing together. Stang Hun Park introduces himself to Hisong as the assistant coach of the attack team. He heard that Huo is close to Jang, so he asks if it's okay to speak casually. He says he'd heard from director Yang that Wizong plans to take the MA test. There are many things he thought about saying, but he thinks maybe he shouldn't. He tells Jang Huan to get some training gear for him to prepare for practice. The two friends enter the training gym, and Quaizhen tells himself that this is the beginning. However, the attack team assistant says this will be a waste of time. Our MC is shocked and the man asks what he expects to learn in just 1 week. To avoid overworking Hisong, they'll only train the basics of martial arts. He then asks what the MC thinks is most important in a fight, says it's the punch and agrees since the basic strike in MMA is the punch, and it's the most important. Sang Hun Park is going to show the MC the basic jab he needs to learn. He strikes the punching bag with a jab at high speed. He throws a few more jabs so that Wizong can clearly observe the motion of the strike, but our hero finds something odd and seeing asks if the punch looks good. Quizong doesn't think too much and says it's fine, but the man asks if he's sure. Being honest, our hero says the punch looks sloppy and awkward. Then the professional fighter shows the move again with better execution and asks what he thinks. Upon seeing the punch with proper form and speed, our MC compliments it and says that one was better. However, to Wee's surprise, he'll only be learning the first version of the jab. Sang says that in MMA you have to stay alert to kicks and other strikes, not just punches. To do that, it's necessary to keep your distance from your opponent. Meanwhile, the second punch, widely used in boxing, has a clear target and isn't suited for MMA. For that reason, MMA stance differs from boxing. It's lower and wider. Saiyan then teaches the next strike, which is a straight punch similar to boxing. It's used in combination with the jab during a fight. First, you throw a jab using your lead hand, then pull it back. At the same time, rotate your hips and throw a straight punch with your rear hand. As soon as you finish, place one hand by your chin and the other in front of your face to guard. After the full tutorial, he asks if the kid understood, and he calmly says yes. Finally, Siang says that's all, and the MC asks if that's really it. His coach says that performing those two strikes well is already halfway there, that he needs to practice a lot. Siang tells him to be careful with the punching bag so he doesn't hurt his wrist on it. Jung asks the coach if he skipped too many steps, and Sing says he taught him everything he needed to know. Jang is in disbelief, that was just a basic explanation, and asks what he expects him to do with only that. Xiang says that even if he explained the details, the kid wouldn't be able to do much with it. No matter how talented he is, 1 week of training won't make a difference. Jung says Guai is like a brother to him. And Sing replies that's exactly why he gave him this lesson. After all, who isn't family, and he says Jang should encourage him to go home after training. However, a loud punch draws the attention of the two professional fighters. They see Wiz throwing extremely precise and powerful punches with great force. Our MC circles the punching bag and strikes the target at high speed with precision. He performs dodges and advanced boxing movements while landing punches on the bag. Siang asks Jang if this is the kid's first time fighting, and Jung thought it was. Suddenly, with a fixed and focused gaze on the punching bag, throws a powerful hook. After landing the hook, the punching bag flies across the room and sweat drips from his face. Sean-Han Park thinks this might get very interesting now. Soon, we see our hero delivering powerful Muay Thai kicks with strong impact to a target pad. Xian Hun, who's holding the pads, yells for him to stop and asks if he's doing ballet. He says there's too much force in the kicks. He needs to strike quickly and hit the target. He tells him to start doing quick kicks with his legs again and follows instructions. A man enters and greets the two fighters with a good morning. The large older man still looks tired and notices everyone is working hard. Sang Han welcomes him back and asks about his seminar, and he replies, it was the same as always. He asks who the new kid is, and Sing says he's the one recommended by the director. At that moment, he introduces to Wiz on the gym's coach, Sanga Kwang. After being introduced, the burly coach asks the boy if he likes M&A. Our hero says it's really fun and mentions that he watches some fights. At that moment, Sanga gives Hai a strange look that makes him feel a sudden odd chill. Advising the boy, he tells Wai to train hard, and that way he might get good results. He waves to his students and wishes them all to keep giving their best in training. After that moment, Song Hun Park tells Wizung to continue his training. Our MC is left curious about the gym coach, who walks away looking tired. Then the first day of sparring practice arrives at the Attack MMA team gym. During his solo bag workout, Wizung scolds himself for being a hopeless idiot. Even though he's training every day, he criticizes himself, saying he can barely throw a proper kick. He wonders what he was thinking when he said he'd be ready in 1 week. On the other hand, if he were smart, he wouldn't have said to do it immediately either. Still, he tries to motivate himself to push just a little further. Sang, the coach, asks what he's doing so late in the training center. He asks if he's having trouble with his kick since he's been kicking all day. Fai confirms but says he doesn't know what's wrong, and the coach tells him to throw a kick. After Wizong calls him sir, Sanguk says he should call him big brother and that he'll evaluate his kick. But Wizong asks how old the coach is after that, and he doesn't answer. Our MC studies his stance and throws a quick kick similar to a whip. The coach watches carefully, and Hizong throws another kick at the bag. After executing the 2 kicks, he asks how he did, and Sang responds immediately and bluntly that he's terrible. He explains that Hawaii is using only his legs to kick, which is why it's slow. He tells him to use his core. He says the thigh and abdomen work together, and using only one means he's only using half the power. The coach says he'll show him and tells the boy to pay close attention to the strike. He instructs him to first use the abs to contract the quads. At the same time, he must kick the leg while rotating his hips during the movement. Our protagonist tries to replicate the movement by tightening his abs inward. Then, he contracts his quadriceps and rotates his torso, delivering a very powerful kick. His kick has a fast, strong motion that shakes the punching bag. His coach Sanguk comments that the kid is improving his kicking technique. After hearing that, our hero collapses to the ground, relieved and extremely tired. Sanguk is impressed by the flawless execution of the kick after just one instruction and understands why the director liked him. He had thought the kid was doing this just for fun. RMC asks why he would think that, and the coach says it's because he said so a week ago. He remembers what he said and apologizes, and Sanguk says he also does it for fun. It's not like you need more reasons to fight MMA. Better to enjoy it than do it out of obligation. He tells him to take it easy and go home as managing your condition is important too. Suddenly getting up, the protagonist calls out to his coach. He shouts and thanks Sang for all the help he gave him that day. Sanguk says if someone had seen that they consider Hisasan part of their family. As he leaves, the coach wishes the young man good luck in his test the next day. Our hero hears that and reflects on what he said about being part of the family. Around an octagon, several fighters are getting ready and putting on their gloves, including our MC who prepares for the fight, stretching and talking with Jang. Sunyap, CEO of Elite SC, arrives at the venue and asks if the kid they talked about is Kwaizan. Siang says that's him and mentions the boy is handsome. The CEO replies that fists don't care about looks. He also says Coach Park mentioned the kid learns really fast. Jang advises him not to get nervous, to do it like in training, and not to get too excited. His opponent is advised to go easy and out-lower his guard since Guai has only been doing MMA for 1 week. Confidently, the opponent says he doesn't even need protection because he's a featherweight. This bald MMA fighter says he'll teach a lesson. At that moment, the referee tells both fighters to move to the center of the ring. His opponent asks why he has his eyes closed. Is he scared? The referee says the fight will be 3 rounds with elbow and knee strikes prohibited. Our MC seeks inner peace by meditating, and the referee tells them to touch gloves and return to their corners. After doing so, the bell rings, signaling the start of the fight. Right away, the bald guy throws a hook and weak dodges by lowering his torso. Next, the opponent throws another hook with his right arm and our MC dodges to the side. Without stopping, he kicks and our MC blocks it by raising his leg and absorbing it with his shin. Sunup, the Elite SC CEO, compliments the defense evasion of our protagonist. At that moment, Weezo makes a strategic jump backward to gain distance from the opponent. His opponent asks where he thinks he's going and starts charging toward him. He then throws a straight punch, which our hero blocks using his forearm. After blocking it, he takes the opportunity to launch a hook at a spot the opponent isn't protecting. That right hook lands on Hoisin's right side and he feels the pain. He grunts in pain and closes his guard as his opponent prepares another punch. Sanji asks if he's not taking too many hits and the director says maybe he's not warmed up yet. Coach Sang hopes the boy won't let things end like this and will turn the fight around. His opponent yells, asking if he's not planning to hit back after all the blows he's taken. Right then, Wee dodges a punch and slips under the opponent's guard. He lands a perfect uppercut straight to the bald guy's chin. The strike surprises both the CEO and the Elite SC director, and his opponent admits it was a good punch. Next, the bald guy tries to land a straight punch, but our MC easily dodges it and counters with a clean hook right to his opponent's face. But the bald guy responds with another hook that hits Wizung in the face too, who then immediately throws another punch back at him, evening out the fight to a balanced match. His opponent wastes no time and lands a punch right in the middle of our hero's face. Zhang tells the coach that Hisong is doing well fighting against a professional. The coach, however, watches the fight in silence while Zhang passionately cheers for Hisong. The end of the first round is announced by the referee who tells them to return to their corners. Our MC feels tired but still finds it fun, even the parts where he's getting hit. He doesn't know why he held back so much, and the referee tells them to return to the center of the ring. Sunyapa CEO praises Hui for knowing how to attack and take hits, and the director says he told him so. However, the CEO has a critical comment as he watches Hui throwing more punches. He notices him sweating heavily and extremely out of breath in the middle of the fight. The CEO says that due to his lack of experience, he's not pacing himself and is already exhausted. Soon, our protagonist takes another punch and responds by blocking it with his arm, but he takes another punch that forces him backward and leaves him unable to strike back. The bald opponent says it's disappointing that he can no longer keep up with the pace of the fight. He yells for Wizong to keep fighting and keeps punching him non-stop while Hui only defends. At that moment, the bell rings and the referee announces the end of the second round, stopping the fight. Both fighters sit down to rest for a bit and Zhang decides to check on his condition. Sanji feels there's nothing more to see in this fight and decides to leave. He says the kid looks worn out and tells them to train him better and call the fight off. Saying the director agrees and thanks him. But just then someone shouts Wizong's name. It's the coach himself shouting Huisen's name, and he turns to hear what he has to say. Scolding his student, he asks if he really plans a fight like that. He asks what kind of idiot lets his opponent off that easily. His opponent listens attentively to the scolding Hisong is receiving. The coach says this isn't a gentleman's sport. If you're in trouble, poke your opponent in the eyes. Is shocked at what the coach is saying and tells him to stop. The coach adds the same advice he gave before, to enjoy the fight and not turn it into a job. He tells him not to regret it later and to fight however he wants. Then he says not to actually kick the opponent in the balls. That was just to fire him up. Standing confidently, Huizhen begins to remove all of his protective gear. At that moment the final round is announced and the CEO keeps watching the fight. Our protagonist decides to take off all his gear and start fighting for real. Facing his opponent, he begins to stretch and warm up for the final round. His opponent starts to wonder who this guy is and where this sudden motivation came from. After all, he was being crushed just a few minutes ago, but somehow he now seems more confident with a different expression from the last round. He decides to accept the challenge and see what tricks he has up his sleeve. The bald guy charges in. He throws the first punch of the round, and our MC easily dodges to the side by shifting his torso. However, he ends up stumbling and nearly falls after dodging the bald guy's punch. Everyone from Elite FC watching the fight feels disappointed and hopeless about him. The director knows that if he had held himself together better, he would have already signed the contract. His opponent had been waiting for him to show something, but nothing seemed to change. Now he winds up a powerful punch and says he's going to put Wizong to sleep with this one. But suddenly, our hero surprises everyone by landing a clean punch that sends the bald guy flying. After getting hit, the bald fighter shows a genuine expression of pain. The fighters watching the match wonder how he got hit like that. He can't believe he took that punch and tries to throw a jab, but Quid ducks under it. Determined, the opponent says it won't work twice and attacks again, but Quid dodges once more. Right after dodging, he makes a smooth, quick move, slipping into his opponent's guard and landing uppercut. The uppercut is extremely well executed and powerful, landing squarely in his opponent's gut. Wizong steps back strategically while the bald guy clearly feels the impact of the punch. In shock, he wonders how this even happened, and Wizong taunts him to come at him again. Fueled with rage, his opponent curses at our hero and charges at him recklessly. He throws a punch, but Hisong easily dodges it by pushing the bald guy's arm aside. He starts swinging wildly without thinking, and the MC dodges all of it effortlessly. The bald guy is stunned, still trying to figure out how he's doing this. After all, the man is dodging every single attack and it shocks him deeply. Caught off guard again, the opponent finds Wizong slipping under his guard once more. Expecting a hook, a bald guy raises his guard to protect his head, but he's caught off guard by a powerful fast kick straight to the ribs. The enemy realizes it was a feint and takes the blow head-on. Taking advantage of the moment when the bald guy is disoriented, Wit prepares a punch. Quickly and instinctively, the enemy guards his head. However, our hero delivers another powerful kick to his opponent's stomach. The local fighters find it strange that the bald guy is being dominated and not holding back. Sanat, the CEO, notices that the fighter isn't holding back. He's being overpowered by Hawaii. Weiyang changed his rhythm with the preparation, and they notice it through his hand, foot, and gaze. He throws several unpredictable punches, and though arrogant, his footwork is fast. On top of that, there's a freedom in his movement that fluctuates between rough and skilled with fast evasions. The CEO wonders if this is his natural style and thinks it's variable for a rookie. He feels like he got slapped in his sleep, and upon realizing he was caught off guard by Hawaii, he smiles. Even though he hates to admit it, the bald guy acknowledges he's being dominated and hurts his pride. He shouts that he won't be pressured anymore by Wiz blows and charges at him. But before he can get too close, he takes an uppercut to the chin that lifts him off the ground. Then as the bald guy falls to the floor, our MC prepares to kick him, landing a very powerful kick straight to his opponent's face. While we see the MC in top form and winning, the bald guy is nearly knocked out. After this insane kick, the bald guy flies back nearly unconscious and crashes into the ring. The coach asks if referee Songhan isn't going to do anything as the fight ends by knockout. That's when he tells Wiz that the match is over and orders him to leave the ring. The people cheering for him celebrate, and the coach looks at him with pride. Everyone praises him, and the coach gives a heartfelt smile to our hero. The MC is happy and the CEO admits he exceeded expectations and that was a great fight. However, he adds that he noticed a bad habit coming from Quiz on Lee. He asks if what he did in the final round was a fight or just a brawl. He says that in sports they are athletes, not thugs, so they must maintain etiquette. Sunup doesn't believe people who don't understand the difference can be considered athletes. He may be rough and harsh in fights, but there are lines he cannot cross. Wei-young listens carefully and understands what the CEO said about sportsmanship being important, but he asks if he's not allowed to do whatever he can to win as long as it's within the rules. Sanjup asks if he really believes that, and Wei says yes because he thinks the purpose of sports is to win. The CEO decides to discuss this later, hands him the contract, and asks when he wants to sign, but surprisingly the MC says he's not going to sign that contract. Sanup had already started speaking as if he had accepted and is shocked by the refusal. Quiz Lee thinks his style wouldn't fit well in Elite FC. He apologizes and bows respectfully before the CEO, and the coach is shocked. At a restaurant, Coach Sang Kwang is on the phone asking how the CEO is doing. He says he understands the situation, hangs up the phone, and sighs. Kwai waits at the table. Gu apologizes for causing trouble and Sang is glad that at least he's aware of it. He sits at the table and says he's willing to hear what the boy has to say. He then asks why the boy wants to be part of his team. In response, the MC says he enjoys being there and doesn't need a reason to do what he loves. Sanguk asks if he's not trying to get back at the CEO who criticized him, and the MC says he holds no grudge. After all, in school, all he ever did was practice sports, and all the coaches said the same thing. They told him not to question them and just obey whatever they said. They authoritatively told him to listen and not do what he wanted. And when he messed up a match by not following their instructions because he got too excited, his whole team would be punished for his reckless actions. His coach asks if he felt the same from the CEO, and Hui's Lee says yes, because he seems like someone who stifles the creativity of his athletes. But he adds that his coach is different, and Sang Muang asks what he did. After all, he told Wei to fight how he wanted and enjoy it as long as it was within the rules. The coach only said that in the heat of the moment because we was doing poorly. Even so, Wizung says no other coach would have said that in that moment. Sanguk thinks that would be the behavior of a bad coach and feels betrayed by his student. Wiz says those words touched his heart because no one had ever said that to him. For that reason he wants Sang Kwang as his coach and wants to learn how to fight with him. Without responding yet, the man tells him to eat the meat before it burns. He says he understands Quizong's point of view, but most people start training because they enjoy it. And that's why most of them don't last even 2 years, and he asks Hui why he thinks that happens. The coach says the reason is that it's not worth it due to the time limit before going hungry. Whether it's M&A or any other sport, you can have fun if you can pay the bills. That's why everyone wants to sign with an organization where they can make money. He says if Hai wants to make money in M&A, he needs to join Elite, and Hai immediately refuses. His doesn't intend to make money with M&A, he just wants to have fun. The coach says everyone starts like that, and the MC wants to be just another one even though most of them quit. Our hero clings to the 1% chance of not being part of the group that gives up. Stangut then says the odds are low, almost non-existent. For that not to happen, Lee tells his coach he'll be just 1 out of 100 who fails at this because to him it's his last chance. And this comment surprises the coach. He doesn't want to go back to his old life for a few bucks and wants to dedicate himself to fighting. After saying this with such conviction, the coach reflects on everything he just heard. He takes a sip of his drink and slams the glass on the table. He asks Sky if he's sure he won't quit and that he made this decision to never regret it again. Sanguk says he might think differently if he goes hungry and that he'll worry about that to avoid committing crimes. His coach asks if he mistakes and Wiz only corrects himself at that moment. The coach can't do anything else because the MC has already made his decision, and the MC asks if he will accept him. Then Sanguk says he accepts because under these circumstances there's nothing to reject. They'll start on Monday after all. You have to strike while the iron is hot, and Hay thanks him. Sanguk notices that the more he observes Wizong Lee, the more interesting he finds him. He knows Gui could have entered Elite directly, and that those who aspire to be athletes have a lot of passion. With enough passion and effort, money comes later. But now times have changed and athletes quit because the passion comes only after the money. Sang feels bitter because the change came naturally and he can't blame them. This makes him have no idea how Wisdom Lee will do in the sport, but he knows Kwai is too good to be left behind by just anyone. He decides to inform Han about it so he can fill out the form and hand it in. Meanwhile, the coach says the MC will be charged a fee until he becomes a member. Our protagonist considers that unfair and asks if he can get a discount. The coach spits out his drink and bursts out laughing, saying he's in trouble now. His coach tells him to speak with Sing Hun, the team assistant, who will know what to do. He asks to pay later so he can get a discount on his father's card, and Sangam allows it. He also asks to pay in installments and sign up for 3 months, paying in 6 parts, and the coach agrees. He starts asking all kinds of questions about interest rates and whether he can get benefits and discounts. Finally, he asks if he can keep the sportswear that Sanguk gave him. Sanguk gets irritated by the number of questions and yells for the MC to stop talking. After the restaurant conversation, the next day arrives and we see the front of the attack team gym. As soon as Kwizang enters the place excitedly, he greets everyone inside. Everyone responds with less enthusiasm than Hisong Lee. Xiang Hun tells him to stop stalling. Get inside already, they have a lot of work ahead. Very excited, he raises his arm and says he's pumped to work with them. Inside the training center, our MC is with Sing Hun. He asks if we want American or instant coffee, and Huey prefers American, but Sing says they only have instant, and Hai wonders why he even offered the other one. After reading a document, Sun Han starts examining our hero. We asks what he's doing and says it's necessary and tells him not to take it the wrong way. RMC agrees, but points out that Xiang Hun is holding his chest. After this embarrassing moment, Xiang asks how long it's been since he last practiced sports. RMC hasn't done sports in 2 years and says he gained 5 kilos and has maintained that weight. He asks if those questions are for his weight class, and Sun Han says yes. His results show that his muscle mass and physical condition are in good shape. On top of that, his body weight is stable and there's no need to work on that. He asks which weight class he'll be placed in, and Han thinks it will be lightweight. He's in disbelief since he weighs 80 kilos and asks if he really has to lose 20 kilos. Xiang says yes. Weising Li thinks that's too much, as he'll lose a lot of muscle mass and physical endurance. He says that since he's competing at his natural weight, he won't lose muscle or stamina. Hai argues that weigh-ins are done days before the fight, but Xiang says in M&M it's 1 day before. That confuses him, and he asks if he'll have to gain 20 kilos in 1 day. Xiang tells him to trust and that he'll understand when the time comes, since the coach is managing his condition. After that, they need to talk about the training method, but Hua is a special case. Normally, you've entered the professional class after going through the amateur level. Then he criticizes him, saying he doesn't even know the basics and doesn't grasp the concepts of MMA. He has to act fast and build a competitive body, learning jiu-jitsu in addition to kickboxing and wrestling. Zhang Han shows Kwizangli a sheet with his training schedule. 2 days will be for conditioning and strength, and another 2 days for jiu-jitsu and boxing. Only Sundays will be free for the boy to rest. Zhang Han asks if he has any questions about the schedule, and Hai accepts everything. Kwizang says it's not his first time doing sports, so he has no questions about the schedule. They'll do a quick test to jump straight into training, and they might change the routine or place him in the main team. Zhang warns that it'll be tough, and we ask him not to go easy on him. It's not his first time fighting. The team assistant smiles and asks if he's sure about that. Kwizang says he's always been good at working out and eating, and Sidong says that's the spirit and decides to start. Confident, the MC says there's no reason to wait any longer and tells them to begin. Some time passes and our hero is on the ground exhausted. Xiang advises him to sit up and rest instead of lying on the floor. He mocks him, asking why he's so weak even though he used to play sports. Xiang says that was just a basic level test and that it'll get much harder when he starts training for real fights. Despite everything said, Wizang bench presses 90 kilos. He does 28 pull-ups and 12 heavy rows with both arms. He also does 12 bicep curls with heavy dumbbells and squats with 140 kilos. This squat is done in 3 sets, increasing the weight each time. Even for intermediate athletes, it's a weightlifting routine with high loads. Saiyan intended to gradually increase the weight and didn't expect him to handle it all right away. That makes him think Kwizang Li is an extraordinary athlete. He asks why he's laughing, and our MC says it just feels good. After all, he enjoys the feeling of his muscles tightening and being pushed to their limit. Han finds that strange, since he should be feeling terrible right now. After that, he asks the assistant if he's no longer an outsider to the gym. He remembers that earlier Xiang Han had said Wissam wasn't part of the elite SC family. RMC comments that at that moment the assistant didn't speak quietly. Xiang explains that he was irritated that day and that Hui was a stranger. He decides to stop making excuses and gets back to training, asking the MC to stretch. Our hero tries to skip it since he already warmed up, and they start to argue. Trying to intimidate him, he says Kwizang has never truly experienced hell. Our hero falls backward, startled by the presence of someone entering the room. That person is Coach Taeyang Yang, the strength and endurance trainer. Tiang asks what the coach is doing there, and he says he's taking over the second part. While choking Wang Li, he says they're starting a second stage now. Our MC says switching coaches in the middle is bad and wants to stay with Zhang. Taeyang Yang asks what to do about the boy's request. Everyone in the room looks at each other while Taeyang Yang still holds Wizang Li. Hai feels hopeful that Saiyan will allow him to continue training him, but he's let down when Shin tells Taeyang to train him, saying he'll be in good hands. Hoi tries to say that he hasn't stretched or warmed up yet and asks for a few minutes. Xiang realizes there's still a long way to go as he hasn't earned his trust yet. He knows it's rare to find an athlete with that mix of natural talent, passion, and skill. Sang believes MMA is about to receive a rookie who will lead the market. Taeyang Yang, while training weightlifting with Wizeng, yells to motivate him to do more reps. Xiang just hopes he doesn't slack off as he trusts in his potential. Inside, a ring sparring training is happening, and Hizong dodges a strike. The fighter training him throws a hook with the other arm and the MC evades it. Thwise Li gets up and throws a combo of 2 straight punches. The pad holder tells him to be faster because real enemies won't stand still. Hiz wonders if he's weak since he finds it hard to follow orders in the middle of fight. So Yukli, the jiu-jitsu coach, tells that if he could do that, he would have debuted already. The boxing coach decides to take a break, saying did very well in training. Zhang Han calls Kuaizhen's attention, saying it's hard to talk to him even though they're always together. John was really surprised when he rejected Elite FC, but Qi wasn't going to abandon him. Quiz says he'll understand when he's an adult like him, and John gets annoyed. At that moment, someone arrives in the ring saying their older brother just got there. Everyone greets Coach Sang Huang. As he walks in, he says he has an announcement to make and tells everyone to come closer. Everyone sits down to listen as Sangba grabs some papers and asks if anyone knows what they are. One student says their offers, and the coach confirms, saying he got 4 from the organization. The students call him a gangster, which angers him. He says he did it for them. Confused, we asks what kind of offers those are, and Jung says they're 4 match offers. Jung says it's tough, and they only got them because they're a good team that puts on good fights, and the organization likes that. Jung says we should thank the coach who works hard to get these opportunities. Sanga Quang decides to stop stalling and names the fighters will take part. Unchan Kang, a wrestler, is the first to be announced, and he steps forward. Next is Tijun Yun, a boxer who's also there among the others. RMC heard that those two are part of Golden Glove. The third fighter chosen is the girl Eugene, who the MC knows is the same age as him. Eugene Min is undefeated in 5 fights in the straw division and a rookie with X1. Her fans call her the goddess of MMA because she's not only skilled but also beautiful. Wizang Li feels that the difference between him and her is like heaven and hell. Our MC is sure he won't be the last chosen since he never even appeared in the Li. But the last name called by the coach is Wizang Li, surprising everyone. Some fighters didn't even know who he was and are shocked by the offer he received. Yuji Min looks at him with a judging expression. Sanga Quang says the organization wanted this, so he asks them not to judge it the wrong way. Annoyed, the coach asks if anyone has a problem with it and tells them to speak up. He says, if no one else has anything to say, get back to training and those with offers should talk too. Sanga Quan approaches the MC from behind and wants to have a private talk with him. Quizung asks the coach if this is really okay since the others seem upset. Sang Quang asks what they're supposed to do. The decision came from the organization. Still, Wizung feels bad and the coach says the organization gives the orders. He tells him to be happy about it and the MC says he is just confused. He asks where the offer is from and the coach says it's from X1. Who knows that X1 is the biggest organization in Korea, and the coach says they discovered him through the viral video. They call them a monster after he beat a professional and were impressed by a gangster who stole the Central League spotlight. Wising Lee asks if he's going to debut and the coach says yes, but there's a problem. He hands him a paper to take a look at something delicate. He reads the profile of a man named Sujam Jam, 1.8 m tall, 90 kilos, 23 years old. He's in the welterweight division, and then Hizison looks at the match schedule, reading on the paper that the match will be on September 9th and today is August 18th, and it's a reserve match. The coach says a fighter got injured and was replaced by Hawaii, who now has 3 weeks to lose weight. In addition to analyzing his opponent and training since Subham is stronger and more experienced than him, our MC becomes thoughtful and knows that in M&A you usually have around 3 months to prepare. He imagines facing an opponent from a higher weight class without even having full control of his own body. It would be practically digging his own grave, but he decides to do it and the coach asks if he's sure. After all, there's no turning back once the decision is made, and even so, Wizung is determined. Sanga Quang says they'll sign the contract tomorrow, and for now he's dismissed. Hiz asks if the coach agrees and he says that since he accepted the offer, he's not against it. This makes our hero wonder if all match arrangements are always this simple. Sanga Kwang calls out to him and asks if his parents know he practices MMA. Guys Lee says they don't know yet that he's fighting in MMA. The coach doesn't want to interfere but asks if he doesn't think it would be good to have his parents' approval before fighting. A bit reluctant decides that he will talk to them and the coach judges his reaction. Sanga Kwang suggests that he speak with his parents today and make his decision tomorrow. White is surprised and the coach thinks they need to be informed by tomorrow to organize the schedule. He tells him not to pressure them for approval and to manage expectations, as there will always be another opportunity. Before leaving, our protagonist asks if there really will be another chance. Laughing, he says he asked just for the sake of it and will inform the coach by tomorrow. He announces that he's heading out now and Sang Kwang remains silent and relieved. He remembers Jung saying that Hui caused a lot of trouble for his parents when he played sports. That makes Coach Sang Kwang find the situation very frustrating. Our hero announces his arrival at home, and his parents say he got home early today. His mom asks if he's been exercising and tells him to take a shower, but he already did. She says Wizen Lee is just like his dad, who also hates taking showers. Out of nowhere, his dad gets up from the couch and starts doing M&A moves, scaring his wife. Right after his dad does that and his mom gets angry, Wizung says he needs to talk to them. However, his mom orders him to take a shower first, and our MC decides to obey. After taking care of his chores, he sits down with his parents and begins to explain the situation. His dad asks what Wizung's mom thinks of all this, and she's sitting with a serious expression. Irritated, she says we's always done whatever he wanted, and asks why he's asking for approval now. Frustrated, she says she can't say anything and that he's going to become a fighter. The dad tries to calm things down, but the mom snaps and says she doesn't want to hear anything. He tries to calm his mom, who yells and tells him not to call her mom. She says that for 10 years, while he wanted to pursue sports, it put their lives on hold for him. That made her lose all her friends and acquaintances, and now only old age remains for her. And now hearing the news that he wants to do M&A only upsets her more. She asks how selfish she can be and how much longer they'll have to sacrifice for him. She questions whether he even cares about his mother, and then she begins to cry. She gets up extremely angry, saying she's just a housewife and tells them to deal with things on their own. Quiz tells her to wait before she leaves. He says he blames himself for all the difficulties she's been through because of him. For that reason, the MC wanted her permission, and he asks her to believe in him this time. Still with tears in her eyes, she slaps his hand and tells him to do whatever he wants. His dad tells him not to worry, that his mom is just upset and worried about him. Lee knows that the only time his mom gets angry is when she's really concerned. His father smiles proudly and acknowledges that his son has grown up. However, he says why he's wrong about one thing when it comes to his mom. That point is she tends to get angry a lot and he's nervous because she's always like that as seen. Then to lighten the movie, he pretends he's going to scold his son and they both laugh and enjoy the moment. He asks if his dad approves and he says yes. After all, you can't stop doing what you love because of others. The MC says he wouldn't do that to his dad and he's happy to hear it because it's important to think that way. He advises his son to talk to his mother and understand why she's upset. Hai is determined to make it up to his mother, and his father asks if he has anything else to say. He asks to borrow his father's card to pay for the gym, and his dad says he was being considerate, but that he looks at Wizung seriously and asks if he's going to pay him back. Trying to push back, the boy asks if he's really going to accept money from his own son. His dad imagined he was trying to steal, and Wee says he can earn it and pay him back double. The father says he could already be successful, and the son says he'll regret it wings on TV. When Wizung says he might become friends with a group of kids, the father stops. He changes his mind, shakes his son's hand, and asks how much the registration fee is. Wise confidently says his father won't regret it. While he and his dad enjoy the moment, his mother watches everything from her room and cries. The next day after that conversation, we see the Seoul team's training center. One of the fighters there uses a sledgehammer to strike a tire. Another person says that's enough, and he throws the heavy, massive hammer aside. He asked if there's still no news and says there are only 3 weeks left until the fight. The coach of this fighter says they're adjusting the schedule and will have updates soon. Sujim Jong from Team Seoul asks what's so hard about scheduling a match when there are over 60 fighters. The coach asks him not to get stressed, but Sudium doesn't want to waste all his hard training. The coach says he doesn't train just for today, so it's not a waste, but Sudium thinks it is if he doesn't fight. He asks Sugi to wait. If there's no news by tomorrow, he'll call the organization. Xiang Ta-jong thinks his fighter has a hot temper and calls the fight organization. On the phone, he asks to avoid a certain subject, says he knows the person is busy and thanks them anyway. Si Tao warned that they be busy and says they'll call back later. Sugi asks if it was manager Song. Coach Sang Ta says they found a substitute opponent for the fight and Subai gets excited, but Xiang Taijong says he's never heard of the opponent, the fighter Wiz Li. So assumes he's a rookie and even so hadn't heard of him in the league. Excited, Hisong's future opponent decides to resume hard training to face him. Xiang decides to explain the contract terms to our hero before he signs the papers. First, the gym contract revenue is split 90% to him and 10% to the gym. Our MC thought the gym would take 30% and he gets 70% and is surprised they earned so little. Sun agrees but says the coach want it that way. Offers to increase it to 70 to 30 since he insists, but Wiz prefers to keep it as it is. He says it's an event contract and the fight will pay 2 million won plus 1 million extra if he wins. The most important part is the weigh-in and there's a clause that says if the fighter is too heavy, the money is forfeited. He thinks it's fair that 100% of the money is lost if the fighter ruins the event due to weight issues. As for the rest of the clauses, he tells Wizung to read them on his own. Our protagonist has a question about how much money he'll actually get if he wins the fight. After taxes and the gym's 10%, he'll take home about 3 million won. Why wouldn't earn 5 million even working for months at the store, let alone 3 million from a single fight? After hearing this and drooling over the money, he says he has no more questions about it. Xiang asks if this will be his only fight and he immediately says no. He wants to fight as often as possible. But the assistant says that if he doesn't give a good performance, he won't get another chance like this. The organization isn't a charity. Audience numbers and sales are everything and they don't waste money. Win or lose, he has to entertain the crowd regardless of the outcome. In the MMA world, only fighters who can do that are truly recognized. Xiang says that if he lacks skill, then he should show courage in the ring. He asks him to be sincere in how he presents himself and to take training seriously so people won't forget him. His decides to keep that in mind and Sang asks him to sign and get back to training. Sang will teach him new techniques to prepare for the fight with Sujum Jang. After asking what kind of skill he'll learn, Xiang says he'll be wrestling. Soon, time passes and our hero is in the ring training with another fighter. The fighter rushes toward him and surprises our hero with his speed. He wraps his arm around Hoisla's torso and grabs his hand to immobilize him. He manages to grab him, trap his left arm and push him backward. Our hero is in trouble and the opponent places his head under Hisong's chin. He struggles hard to break free and Sing says the opponent is getting through him too easily. He remembers the conversation they had where he said he would learn wrestling alongside close combat. He says Subyum's style is simple in clinch and grappling, which makes him well-rounded. Even if he isn't a master in any one area, he's solid in all of them. Knowing he's bigger and more experienced, Sudium will aim for a grappling fight and he has to handle that. That's why wrestling is essential to deal with him or he'll lose before even landing a punch. He feels insecure because he's never trained in wrestling, but Sing says he'll be fine since he competed in Korean wrestling. Our protagonist is confused. After all, he trained in Soririum, a traditional Korean wrestling style. Xiang thinks that gives him an edge and he can adapt his Soririum. W trusts his ability. After that, Xiang told him to warm up and spar with Unchang followed. Our hero thought he was strong, but seeing Unchang still surprised him. Even though he should have known, he feels his strength being drained and it feels like he's fighting a giant gorilla. Still caught in the hold, Wizang Li makes a move with his foot to try breaking free. He strikes the inside of his opponent's leg, shocking him when it lands. Seeing his enemy off balance, our hero places his free arm on his opponent's shoulder. Then, he uses his leg and free arm to push Unchang back with force and escapes. He wastes no time and takes advantage of the opponent's instability to show him against the cage. After that, the opponent admits that Wisley is actually pretty good. Our MC crouches and grabs Unchang's calf with both arms. Unchang realizes his opponent is trying to take him down to the ground. To stop it, he braces himself and holds onto Wisdom's body. A random observer notes that Hui has a good sense for wrestling and will learn jiu-jitsu quickly. Agrees, saying he knew he would do well even sparring with Unchan. Meanwhile, the opponent grips and breathes steadily to avoid mistakes. Still, Unchang Kang is a fighter 2 classes above and a veteran. At that moment, Unchang Kang spins our protagonist and throws him, stopping the takedown. But he prevents him from flying away by locking his arms around his torso. Then he lifts him up completely while squeezing body with his arms. Even with his arms pinned, Wizang manages to use his feet and twist his torso to break free. He turns the tables with unpredictable movements, blocking strikes and takedowns successfully. Unchang Kang looks slightly tired and acknowledges that his Li is very good. Our hero says he hasn't even shown what he's really capable of yet. At that moment, the two pushed forward into his strength and grappling clash. Sang thought it would be hard to apply his Sir Room experience in MMA, but it worked. Considers him a gem that clicked in MMA and thinks they have a good chance. Some time passes and in the car, Sang asks what his weight is. He says 77 kilos. Sang says X1 allows a slight overage and doesn't think there'll be a problem. His says he didn't eat or drink anything because it affects weigh-ins a lot. He says he used to do that a lot when he competed in Surrerium, and Eugene gets annoyed from hearing so much about it. Eugene ministing along because the others are busy and she has nothing else to do. Huang tells her to leave if she's just going to complain, but she says she'll take care of the bags at weigh-in. The MC tells her to handle the luggage and not to get involved. Sang is happy to see them bonding, and Hisong mentions he hasn't told his friends about the fight. Sidong thinks he could have invited them to watch, but Wee says he'll tell them later. Eugene Min says the real reason is that he doesn't want to be embarrassed in front of his friends if he loses. Smiling. Our hero says she nailed it and she's surprised. He repeats that she was spot on and then flicks her forehead. The two start arguing and gets irritated, asking why they're always fighting. They finally park the car and arrive at the weigh-in venue. His Lee is very surprised as soon as he enters and sees members of the press. Sayan, the assistant, tells Wei not to stand still to start following him. He shows our hero where his seat is, and without wasting any time the MC sits down. He looks to the corner and notices Sujim Jong Unk's presence, and Sayan tells him to stop staring. He says not to make eye contact, speak, or greet him until the face-off. Xiang says there's no point in saying hi if they're going to fight the next day. His fight assistant says not to make excuses. After all, Sugi is just minding his own business. After Seong Hun mentions this, Wizong realizes he's been living too much in his head too. He suspects Sujim is deliberately avoiding eye contact, knowing that Hawaii is watching him. The two sit very close to each other, and it's announced that the weigh-in is about to begin. The X1 weigh-in starts with the blue and red corner fighters from the undercard. To ensure a fair weigh-in, the managers from each corner will join at the start. Then the main card weigh-ins begin, and the weigh-in for the under 70 kg fight is about to start. Suddenly, our protagonist confidently removes his clothes and is ready for the scale. Eugene is shocked when he strips and kicks him. The girl asks why he took off his clothes when he wasn't even called yet, and he doesn't care about that. She comments that his underwear is lame and embarrassing, and Hawaii argues that they're the best ones. It's then announced that fighter Wisdom Lee should come to the stage, and he walks toward it. He steps on the scale and records a weight of 170.2 lb, equivalent to 77 kg. Ijin says he'd be a failure if he couldn't even manage that and congratulates him. Our hero complains that she only says nice things afterward, and she hands him his clothes. He says it's hot and refuses to put them on, but she forces him to because it's making her uncomfortable. After this exchange, people in the audience laugh at the two, and Eugene Min feels embarrassed. Annoyed our hero, she throws the clothes in his face and runs off the stage. It's announced that fighter Su Yim Jong has also made weight at 77 kg. Then it's stated that fighter Su Jim Jong and Wizong Lee will face each other. The two stare each other down and strike a fighting pose for the face-off. The MC notices his opponent's thin face and dry body and is sure he'll look different in the fight after recovering. He wonders if he can win until Sujim says that doubt bothers him. His opponent rhetorically asks if he's never fought in an amateur league before. He asks what he was thinking when he accepted the offer and whether he just wanted to make Suji look bad. He intimidates him, asking who his sponsor is because you can't be in a main event without experience. The fight referee tells Sudium to be careful with what he's saying. Then Sujim tells the MC not to embarrass himself so they can put on a good show. Sugi demands a response saying he's Wee Senior, and our hero tells him to shut up. Doesn't get the complaint after all. He's only participating because Sugi wanted a backup fight. He tells him to stop whining and be grateful since we saved the cancel fight, and tells him to cancel it if he wants. Our MC says that for someone who loses in his own weight class, he's very arrogant. His enemy, Suyam Jong, gets extremely angry and clenches his fists in rage. He then presses his forehead against Quizong and asks if he wants to be annihilated. He says he can easily knock out a weakling like Quizong, and in response, the MC chokes him. He lets go quickly just to shock his opponent, and Subby starts coughing. Immediately, Su Yim Jong reacts with intense hatred toward our protagonist. The referee appears and holds back Hisongla's opponent, telling him to calm down. He says that if he has any complaints, he should show them in the ring and stop talking now. He also asks Shuyam to show some respect since there's a 1-year age difference between them. That same night, our hero arrives home and tells his parents he's back. As soon as he enters, he notices his father is missing, and his mother says his boss forced him to go fishing over the weekend. However, our MC notices the sad and gloomy look on his mother's face after she says this. Suddenly, she's startled when her son hugs her and tells her he has a fight the next day. She pretends to be indifferent, and Wizong thinks he'd fight better if his mom encouraged him and he asks her for that. Still hugging his mother, she doesn't say anything, and this starts to upset our hero. Why lets go of her, pretends he was joking and mentions that the fight will be broadcast on TV in the morning. After that, he turns away visibly upset, and his mother asks if he wants something specific to eat before the fight. She says it's good for him to eat well for the fight he'll have the next day. The MC smiles and is happy with his mother's gesture. She didn't want him to blame her if he lost, so she asked again what he wants, and the MC asks for spaghetti with lots of meat and sauce. Suddenly, our hero lifts his mother off the ground and holds her easily, saying she feels light. Joking around, he says he's going to take her for a spin in his arms, and she gets annoyed. Finally, the next morning arrives and we see Octagon, whereon will make his debut. Training with his coach before the fight, they practice dodging and striking. After his partner says he's doing well, he tells Wizon to take a short break. Another fighter notices his good physical condition, and this worries Sun Hun. Then Coach Sanguk appears and says his shoulders are too soft. He's holding back in training. After some playful banter, Sanguk says he has 2 tasks for Huey, and one is to land 10 slaps on Sujum. Then he tells him to fight smart. Don't strike blindly, all lure out the opponent's punch. The MC asks about the second task, and Sanguk says that if the fight isn't going well, he should listen to Sion, who will tell him what to do. The coach asks if he can promise that, and Hui replies by asking what he should do if his intuition doesn't want to listen to Kong. Sanguk looks confused and Hui clarifies. What if his intuition tells him one thing and Kong tells him another? Was about to say he should obviously listen to him, but the coach says to follow his heart. He tells him to trust himself, and that means he's trusting his coach too. C is left speechless. After the coach's advice to keep a cool head, Wizing says he understands and that he'll give it his best. A message from the control center calls fighters Sujum Jong and Wiz Lee to the ring. Our MC and his team head toward the ring, and Siong is frustrated he couldn't get a word in. Finally, they all take their final steps toward the grand octagon. Our hero is dazzled by a real X1 ring. Hong says he's nervous enough to be excited, and Sanguk tells him to start warming up. Our hero follows the coach's instructions and practices his basic moves alone. Xiang asks why Sanguk said that thing about high listening to himself before listening to others. Sanguk says to just let him fight his own way, and Sion protests. This is his dead but match. He says it's not the coach's job to gamble, since if he loses he may never compete again. Sanguk replies that this kid once told him his entire life as an athlete was about following orders. That built up so much resentment that he even turned down USC Elite. They don't know how long he'll last, and Sanguk would rather let him fight freely. Something tells him this won't be his last match. Besides, the coach adds Wiz won't listen to Siong anyway, who ends up accepting it all. 2 announcers introduce the main event of the night in the blue corner, Wisdom Lee. It's his debut match, and he started MMA just 40 days ago with no amateur experience at all. However, he knocked out a professional in the semi-pro league and defeated another fighter in sparring. It's very rare for a brand new MMA fighter to debut in the main event. The other announcer says they'll see how he performs against Sujum Jong. They introduced Sujum in the red corner, a fighter on a 3-win streak and a promising future. They're expecting a 4th consecutive win from the star of Team Saul and hope it'll be an easy one. Sanguk tells Hoisin not to get nervous, and besides staying calm, to stay adaptable. Finally, the fighters for the main event of X61 in the 70 kg division are introduced again. They speak of the mysterious newcomer Hisin Lee, standing 1.8 m tall at 70 kg. In the red corner, at the same height and weight, the future of Korean middleweight Sujum Jang, the fighters move to the center and face each other one last time before the match officially begins. RMC notices that his opponent's body has recovered and looks very different from the way wine. He knows he'll need to be cautious during the fight and his opponent calls out to him. He threatens him, saying this will be Wizun Lee's first and last fight as a professional. Our hero mocks him and asks if he's still mad about the day before. The MC calls him petty and says he's only going to focus on the match, which fills Jong with rage. Even with his brows furrowed in anger, they touch gloves to start the fight. The referee asks if the blue corner fighter is ready, then asks the same of the red corner. He then announces the beginning of the fight between the two competitors. Zhang Han notices Wizang Le's light footwork, indicating he isn't nervous. He then asks Sujio to prepare an ice pack and some Vaseline for the fight. Suddenly, a very loud scream startles the physical trainer Han. He turns around to see what's happening and witnesses something that leaves him in shock. He asks what just happened. After all, Sudium is on the ground with a hurt nose. We then see the moment before the knockout where Sujim charged at Hissen. He was shouting that he could read all of his opponent's moves and called him weak. But before he could land a hit, he took a quick, precise punch to the face from Hawaii that left him stunned. And as he fell to the ground, confused, ketchup-like blood dripped from his nose. After the jab, our protagonist delivered a powerful straight punch to his opponent's face. This made Sujim Jong fall flat on his butt, impressing the match commentators. They announced Sway's knockdown just 10 seconds into the fight and the fact that Lee managed to drop him. On the ground, the enemy looks up in fear at our MC, who prepares another heavy punch. Sujim's team yells for him to get off the ground to avoid taking another blow. He manages to see the punch coming and quickly dodges backward, avoiding Hui's strike. He gets up fast and returns to the fight, though slightly shaken from the hit he took. The commentators say that overconfidence might be his downfall. He dropped his guard, trying to regain control and stay calm. Wissam lowers his body and raises his guard. After giving Sujim a 1000-Y stare, he charges at him at blazing speed. He lands another straight punch right in the center of his opponent's face. It sends Sujim Jong flying and nearly knocks him out, but he somehow stays on his feet. However, RMC capitalizes on the moment and rushes in again. Noticing John has tightened his guard, spotting an opening in his abdomen, he slams a punch into the vulnerable spot. His opponent takes the hit but doesn't fall. He holds on with the strength of his core. Right after, Wisdom Lee lands a hook to his enemy's left flank, making him scream in pain, grinding his teeth from the impact. Subium's face shows utter desperation. He screams in rage and starts attacking wildly while RMC dodges. As he gets back up, he retaliates with a punch and lands it squarely on his opponent's face, so takes the heavy hit without being able to defend. And as he stumbles back, he's consumed by fury. He quickly regains control of his body and, filled with rage, tries to strike. Our MC is surprised by the speed of Jung's punch as it whizzes past his face, but he outpaces him, shifting to the side and landing a punch before getting hit himself. Sujim is stunned and wonders how Wizang is reacting so quickly. Right after taking the hit, he loses his balance and struggles to stay on his feet. While trying to stand straight and regain his footing, he suddenly charges our MC at high speed. He manages to grab the protagonist's waist, catching him off guard with a sudden move to subdue his opponent. Wisdom Lee grabs Sudium's head and shoves him away. They clash, staring each other down as Suyum wonders why he won't fall. Our hero manages to stand upright and finally pushes his enemy back. Sergi hits the cage and the commentators can't believe Hisong is toying with such an experienced veteran. They find it hard to believe. No one could have predicted this would happen. Zhang Han says the fight isn't even difficult. Why is dominating and against a seasoned fighter, but he questions how all of Hisong's strikes are landing so perfectly. Suddenly, our MC charges low, aiming to grab his opponent's waist. It becomes clear that Hai's fighting style is to start defensively, then counterattack aggressively. Following this low movement, our MC loads up a massive punch. As he rises, he lands this powerful blow straight into his opponent's face once again. C notices the feints and unpredictable strikes and realizes they're messing with the target's mind. Just like what happened with Taung, Hisong is disrupting the rhythm of his opponents. That's because he's keeping the rhythm and someone who's never seen him fight doesn't know how to react to it. Then he locks both hands behind Sujim's neck and prepares a flying knee. The commentators narrate the moment he lands the knee perfectly mid-air. The strike hits the target with such force that it leaves him dazed and confused from the pain. It was so powerful that it made him lose his balance and drop to the ground on his knees. With one leg up and the other on the floor, Jung tries to grab Oisum, but he's too weak. It's a risky move. If he fails, he could get knocked out easily. RNC taps his opponent's back and tells him to show his skill with his fists. Right after, he delivers an uppercut from below that hits Jung square in the face. At that moment, his mouthguard goes flying along with a lot of tomato sauce from the uppercut. When the punch lands cleanly, our MC's team is proud and overjoyed. Meanwhile, the rest of the spectators are completely stunned by what just happened. The referee tells our hero to stop and steps in. Suji Jiang has lost consciousness. It's then announced that the match ends with a knockout by Hisong Lee. The commentators say it was the most dramatic debut with a win in under 1 minute. They assure the audience that no one who saw this fight will ever forget the name Huang Lee. They declare it a flawless victory, and with the crowd erupting, Huo is crowned the winner. Inside the car leaving the arena, our protagonist is sleepy and yawning. Sang-guk wonders why he always falls asleep like this in the car, and Seong lets him rest since he did well in the fight. Sun-han then points out that it's actually Soyuk snoring loudly, not Wizang Lee. Siang didn't expect a knockout without taking a single hit, and Sang-guk agrees it exceeded expectations. It had been a long time since the coach felt this way watching an M&A match. His teammates recall the moments inside the octagon. After Wizang Lee's win, Soya carried him on his back extremely excited. While our MC smiled and the coach praised his performance, Seong-han looked uncomfortable until our hero walked up to Kong and asked that he saw what he did. Xiang congratulates him. Then Wizang says he didn't mean to Xiang, and Seong replies, "The kid fought so well there was nothing to say." He praises Buzang Lee, saying he was so amazing there were no comments to be made. He feels like he neglected him. He's the second coach and stood there saying nothing. After all, Sang-guk understood Wizang's style and managed to guide and motivate him before the fight. He helped the MC head down the right path and admits that Sang-guk is incredible and says he admires him. The coach asks why he's saying this out of nowhere, and Seong says he's just being honest. Sang-guk says Seong never talks about his feelings and asks not to be criticized. Seong is left confused. Sang-guk reminds Seong-han of the day he forgot to shave and got picked on for it. Seong says he just wants to keep Sang-guk from slacking off, but the coach complains about being bothered again. He points out that Seong has never driven despite all the perks and tells him to start driving from now on. He brings up the day Seong used the company card for a fancy dinner while the coach ate cheap ramen. He says he's never bought anything to show his appreciation and jokes that he's a bad influence on the younger guys. Zhang Han puts on headphones to drown out Coach Sang-guk's voice, who curses at him. He mutters that Zhang only disrespects everything that comes out of his mouth. The next morning, our protagonist walks into the same cafe from the previous days. He's greeted by two people who invite him to sit at their table. The man with glasses calls him a celebrity and jokes that they should roll out a red carpet. His friend asks why Wizang was fighting in his underwear in a cage. He asks why he didn't say anything. They only found out online, and Y says he didn't have time to tell them. The friend says he had 3 weeks to say something, and another friend adds that they must not mean anything to him anymore. Then they notice two people in the cafe whispering and glancing at Ki. His childhood friends comment that he's a celebrity now, and Wizan rejects that idea. But in truth, he notices the people around are recognizing him because of the fight. In 10 years of sports, he never received any recognition, and now he's getting attention for a 2-minute fight. The MC asks how his friends are doing, and the one with glasses says he's just working. Quizung advises him to get a good job, but the friend wants to finish college first. His other childhood friend mentions that he's studying to become a public servant. Both his friends are surprised and start teasing him about it, saying he was always the dumb one. That childhood friend responds that they weren't so different from him as they think. After that, the three friends keep laughing and enjoying a friendly conversation. At that moment, our MC's phone rings and he sees his dad calling him out of the blue. As soon as he answers, his dad asks if he's busy, and he says he's hanging out with his friends. He says he's going to be late coming home because he's going out for drinks and asks if Gui is doing the same. Kui says they're not drinking, and his dad tells him to keep his mom company at dinner since she's alone. Our MC knows that both his mom and dad waited for him to come home late. As excited as he was about the fight, he should have thought about his mom. The MC says he already wanted to head home earlier, and his dad is happy with that answer. At that moment, his dad says he liked Wizang's fight and that he's proud of him. Our hero feels happy, thanks his dad, and looks forward to seeing him at home. His friends understand that it was his dad on the phone, and Hui apologizes and says he has to leave. They're surprised since they thought they'd stay out late and ask him why. He promises to go out with them another time, but right now he needs to be with his mom. He says they can hang out anytime, then says goodbye to his friends, who are understanding. His friends comment that he's acting strange, as if they already knew what he was thinking. They joke that they've known him forever and that he's a mom's boy. At that moment, the MC returns home with a smile on his face while checking his phone. After all, he received a call from Sidong Han saying the prize money had been transferred. He received 116,500,000 won, the equivalent of $8,000 in prize money. He also got a bonus of 10 million won for being selected as Fight of the Night. That's much more than the monthly contract offered to him by Elite SC. In all these years of sports, he never earned anything. Now he earned 10 million won through MMA. Looking at his bank account balance, he hopes to keep this momentum and pay off his debt while making his family happy. Suddenly, our hero sees his mom out on the street smiling and chatting with a street vendor. Even from a distance, he notices her saying that her beauty is still noticeable. His dad used to say that back in school, his mom was a popular girl and believes it. At that moment, he remembers the fight they had and feels sad while watching her head home. He starts running after her and hugs her from behind, startling the woman. She complains that he scared her and that he could have just said hi instead. He apologizes and asks why she's shopping there if there's a market near their house. She says the quality is better and it's cheaper, but Hai argues that it's a 10-minute walk. What finds it strange that she walked all that way just to save a bit of money. He knows this wouldn't be happening if he hadn't insisted on doing sports for years. He decides to stop thinking about that, let the past go, and repay everything he owes his mom. His mother asks why he came back early if he was with his friends, and he says something came up. Quissam invites his mother to have dinner out, but she thinks it's a bad idea. The MC tells her to leave the groceries at home and that he'll pay for dinner. She doesn't believe it's really his treat. Our hero says he'll show her the money once he saves a bit more. Smiling, he asks where she wants to eat, and they decide to go for sushi and tuna. The next day, we see X1 building in Gangnam, and inside it, the CEO's office. His assistant waits by the door while the CEO watches Wissam Lee's fight against Sububam. He watches the fight in detail, especially the moments when Hoy's Lee landed powerful punches. He sees the moment when he connected the two-punch combo and the knee to Subuyam's face. Finally, he watches the moment our protagonist knocked out his opponent, smiling joyfully. Its assistant turns on the lights and asks what the CEO thought of the fight and Hai's performance. The CEO of X1 is surprised by our hero's technical skill and admits he fights well. He asks if he's really a rookie. His assistant says if he's never seen him fight before, it's because he's a true newcomer. After the CEO asks, his assistant says that he's from the attack team and is one of Coach Wong's boys. They remember that Kim is the man who made the CEO of Elite SC look like a fool, and he'll never recover from that. His aide says that Yang Jiang is in a tough spot because of it. Then the CEO comments that they were stabbed in the back and asks if the kid is going to be a problem. The guy with glasses thinks not. He joined the team to learn from Hang and seeing not for money. After the CEO acknowledges, his loyalty assistant says he's 22 years old and already completed military service. He adds that Wissam received a lot of money, and the CEO does the math and realizes he made 3 million in a day. He tells his assistant to bring him in and make a good offer so no other affiliation can get their hands on him. His assistant says he'll put Wizong Lee in action after the year-end holidays. After all, he already has a suitable opponent in mind. After saying that, he bids farewell to the CEO of X1 as he has another meeting to attend. He also informs the old man that he'll be using the company card, and his boss tells him to be careful. The guy with glasses knew the CEO liked fighting, but he hadn't seen him this excited in a long time. He wonders how far Wizong Lee's potential can go. The CEO of X1 watches our protagonist fight again, mesmerized by his technique. Junho Yang, the CEO of the M&A organization X1, keeps showering Hoy's Lee with praise. The next day, the MC walks down the street, feeling the pleasant weather and sensing something good will happen. Walking behind a girl, he recognizes her from the back because of her hair. He quickly greets the girl, and we see it's Yan Min, who gives the protagonist a cold look. He gets annoyed by the small girl's attitude and tries to start a conversation, but she's rude to him. He asks about the book she's carrying and grabs it from her hand without permission. As soon as the MC holds the book, he's sure it's a magazine, but he notices it's actually an old regular book, and Min says it's about philosophy. He asks why she's reading it and if she understands it, and she replies that he wouldn't get it. After getting her book back, the girl says it's about interpersonal relationships and life perception. Our MC looks shocked, and Young Men threatens him if he keeps judging her like that. Kwaizen Lee says she's acting weird today and tells her to stop behaving like that. We see the fighter girl Young Men deeply focused while reading her book. Our hero still can't get used to the fact that she's reading so intellectually. Sang Han appears and asks how Wizardly is doing. He replies that he's doing fine, and Seeng says he has something to tell him. He invites him to come to the office to receive the news. They go to the company headquarters, and Han hands our protagonist some documents. Reading them, he realizes it's a contract from X1, and Kong says the CEO wants to officially sign him. Our hero is very surprised as he expected this to happen much later. Xiang says he deserves it after all. He won his debut without taking a single hit and caught everyone's attention. Then the coach says his win was pure luck, and Wizang doesn't know whether to take that as a compliment or not. He's worried about why. Even though he won, it was because Sudium was caught off guard. Our MC knows it's true since the enemy didn't take him seriously and could won if he had stayed calm. He decides to sign the contract so he doesn't miss the opportunity. And Xiang starts to explain it. It's a 3-year, 3-fight contract. Even if he doesn't fight all 3 matches, the contract expires in 3 years. Wai asks what happens if he completes all 3 fights in a year. What about the remaining 2 years? Song explains that he would have to sign another contract, but this one allows fighter exchanges between organizations. He can fight in other promotions and even compete in X1's Extreme Combat in Singapore. Usually, there's an agency that intermediates that process, but this contract skips that step. The downside is that X1 covers the costs, but the fighter must pay for their own training camp expenses. Our MC wonders what the catch is since it all sounds too good to be true. C says there isn't one. The prize money in MMA is low, and once it increases, it doesn't drop again. That's why MMA organizations are more focused on offering benefits than on cash prizes. In the end, X1's goal is to make their fighters better while making big business off just cents. The special clause states that if he joins the SSC, the contract will be immediately terminated. The SFC doesn't allow contract transfers, and the ability to terminate contracts makes it easier to sign with them. Wizen Lee finds it strange to even be talking about the SFC so early in his career. SFC is the biggest MMA stage in the world, and even with the improvements of other organizations, they're still unmatched. This becomes clear when you ask anyone. Even people who know nothing still recognize the SSC. Sun Han, however, says they still don't know his name, so he shouldn't get carried away. He talks about the injury insurance and the money the fighter has to pay, but mentions they're sponsored by a clinic. If he misses weight at a competition weigh-in, he could lose 100% of the purse. But maintaining weight is the fighter's responsibility. After wrapping up these details, they move on to the most important part, the prize money. Sang says the starting amount is 1 million won, and if he wins 3 fights, he'll get 3, then 4, then 5 million. Our MC finds it odd since the rate of increase seems lower than last time. A debit fighter on the X1 card earns 1 million and later on the main card earns 2 million. As an amateur, you would have needed 8 wins to reach that value, and the growth rate is small. There are ways to increase it, but they prefer to avoid fighting with other organizations over money. Sang mentions something already knows, the cash bonus for Fight of the Night. Then he asks if our hero has any questions, and Wizang Lee says he understands everything. Han gathers the papers and says it's important the kid knows all this before signing. He warns that from now on it won't be so easy. Opponents will have info on him and be better prepared. Tong Han says they have a lot of work to do to expand his options. After hearing all this, Wiz Lee signs the contract and officially becomes a member of X1. After signing the papers, his friend Han gives our protagonist a gift. He places a sheet on the table showing that his second fight will be on December 31st. The paper also shows who his next opponent will be. Suddenly, we see several men in suits going after one man also wearing a suit. He defends against a strike from a man wielding a metal crowbar. He counters with a punch straight to the face of one of his attackers. After knocking the blonde man to the ground, another assailant with a metal rod prepares to strike. He jumps over the attacker's back and kicks him in the face, making the weapon fly far away. The other gang members watch their friend get hit and start hesitating. They yell and curse at the man while charging at him with bladed weapons in hand. One man jumps in and tries to strike while the others hang back. The suited man dodges the blow and kicks the attacker away. Then he lands another kick to the face of a gang member who's charging at him. From the impact of the first kick, the bald man freezes in pain and gets hit again, falling to the ground. As the suited man sends the bald guy down, he notices someone else behind him. He asks if that's the last member of the gang. Seeing that the man with blue hair doesn't respond, he rushes at him. He dodges the enemy's punch and with a precise move kicks him square in the chest. His enemy groans in pain and drops to his knees from the force of the blow. Meanwhile, the man in the suit who defeated everyone stands tall, staring at him with rage. At that moment, someone yells, "Cut!" and we find out it was a movie scene. The film director thanks Sang Hae-in, saying the scene was great, and he thanks the director back. A crew member asks if the blue-haired actor is okay. He acted recklessly during the scene. They say it's better to finish everything in one take and rest, but the man replies that he's overworking himself. Hodge, an extra, says he doesn't want to mess things up because he got this job thanks to that man. The man tells him to hang in there. Once he becomes famous, he'll take good care of his friend who thanks him sincerely. Jew pauses to answer a call and tells the person he's still at the studio. He suddenly gets excited and says he's ready and will show up somewhere the next day. Hasukju announces that he got an offer for his first fight on the main card. Your friend asks when the fight will be, and the boy says it will be on December 31st. After that, we see Jose fighting hard and giving it his all against another fighter. He dodges a strike and then lands a kick to his opponent's torso. He also manages to land a punch to his opponent's face and knocks him out with ease. The referee checks the man's condition and announces that Jose has won the fight by knockout. Si-han asks what Kui thinks, and he realizes that Hazug is a stand-up fighter. Siang says he's had 4 amateur fights and 2 professional ones and is a World Kai champion. He warns Quizung that this type of fighter is tough as they use stamina and endurance as weapons to attack. After all, endurance is like a human battery. When it runs out, you can't move no matter how much you want to. That's why professional fighters, even after years of training, sometimes get beaten without being able to react. Xian Han says they have 3 options for Hisong to defeat Hasupchu. The first option would be the clinch, which Hoke is bad at, but Huo is also terrible at it, so they discard that idea. The second idea would be to beat Hasak through endurance, but Wei is small and weak. After pointing that out, Xiang asks what the third option is, and Hai says he'll simply crush the target. Xiang Han confirms that Wisley is right and that the third option is the correct one. He says Kui just needs to hit the enemy until his guard is completely broken. Quisen doesn't think he has the skill for that, and Sidong says that's when martial arts come into play. Hai asks what kind of martial arts, and Sun Hun says Muay Thai. After all, Muay Thai is the most powerful striking art, and the knee and elbow techniques prove that. If used correctly, they can break Hokju's defense, and they should start training right away. RMC asks who's going to teach him, and Sun Han says he already arranged it. He decides to introduce the only Muay Thai specialist on their team. At that moment, a flashy man enters, drawing attention and introducing himself to Hai, but our hero doesn't respond, and an awkward atmosphere settles as he assumes he's screwed. This Muay Thai coach doesn't think it's a good idea to teach him elbow and knee techniques. After all, most elbow and knee strikes are banned in official MA fights. Besides, he says they're not so different from punches and kicks at their core. So he concludes that Wissam should learn the plum, and he asks what that is. The specialist says it's the Muay Thai clinch, and it allows elbows and knees to be used more effectively. There are many cases of fighters who lost because they didn't know how to defend against the plum. Anderson Silva, for example, won the middleweight belt with a knee strike from the plum, but he thinks it's better to start with the basics and understand how to grab the opponent. First, he should grab the opponent's neck with his left hand, and the opponent will do the same. Then use the right arm to press the opponent's bicep, keeping the elbow straight. If the arm stays at right angle, he can still strike the enemy with an elbow, and he keeps his fingers free. So the first to move has the advantage over the other. Giving an example of this advantage, the Muay Thai expert grabs the MC's head and throws him down. Quiz asks him to take it easy, and the coach asks what he should do now. Weiss says to remove the arm, and the coach fakes a knee strike, then says that trying to form a guard will get him hit. The MC tries to move backward, but that risks taking a knee and he mustn't expose his head or missing his moves. Still holding Wizong's head, the coach teases him, asking him to react. At the beginning of the fight, you might have the strength to break free, but when exhausted, falling into the plum is terrifying. Asks the coach what to do when he gets caught, and the specialist offers to demonstrate. At that moment, Wizong Lee grabs the coach's neck and bicep. The specialist yells, scaring our MC, who immediately releases him. Without laughing, Wizong tells him not to mess around and to do his job, teaching Muay Thai. Trying to redeem himself, the Muay Thai coach says they'll try again, and he'll show what to do. He tells Wai to straighten his neck and waist before the opponent's arms get into the plum position. If he's the same height as the opponent, his elbow will be straight when it's at shoulder height. With that grip, the opponent will lose his base, and all he needs to do is twist his body and use his shoulder to break free. If the opponent uses bicep strength, we won't be able to resist using only neck strength and will take a knee strike. The coach begins teaching Hui how to escape the plum and asks the boy to pull his neck downward. When caught like this, he should place his arms between the opponent's arms. However, once the clinch is in place, the space between fighters becomes tight and the opponent won't let him through. He tells Wizong to twist and push his shoulder close to the opponent's chest. That way, the opponent won't be able to stop a protagonist from creating space to escape. At that moment, he must slip his arm inside the opponent's guard and finally escape through the key points by understanding the spaces in the clinch and pushing from the inside out. Our MC is impressed with the coach and didn't expect him to be so good and cool. He says he thought the coach would be terrible, but ended up impressed by the specialist. The specialist says that since Gui has a solid base in Cererium, he'll master the clinch of training in no time. Our hero commits to doing his best, and the coach says that's all for today. At that moment, Coach Taeyong shows up and the Muay Thai specialist says his part is done. A very strong coach wearing extremely tight clothes and with a sweet expression appears. Hai is startled and asks what he's doing there, and it's explained that Ta is going to train his physical strength. However, the MC is unhappy with Taz's presence and says they could have chosen literally anyone else. Taeyang hears what Wizong Lee said and puts a hand on his shoulder to confront him. He asks Wizong Lee what kind of person he is since he physically resembles a gorilla. Hai says the coach is busy and should have gone to see him and adds that he's one of his favorite people. Ironically, the coach is happy that Hui sees him in a positive light and asks to be carried to the training area. Our MC refuses to carry Taeyan Yang, who weighs 100 kilos, but the coach still tries to argue. In the end, our hero is forced to carry Coach Taeyang on his back. His Muay Thai coach encourages him by saying, "No pain, no gain." Tad tells the Muay Thai specialist that he should join and do the circuit too, since he's in good shape. The specialist tries to run away, saying he'll train with Hobian, who's busy with Eugene. Even so, he keeps coming up with excuses to avoid the physical strength circuit, but it's no use, and the coach goes after him, prompting him to run away. Then both Wizong and Taeyan Yang jump on the Muay Thai coach to catch him. He screams as soon as the two catch him to take him to the physical training circuit. Some time passes, and we see Wizong Lee training clinch with the Muay Thai coach. His coach tries to land a strike, and our hero defends it with ease and precision. Next, the specialist crouches and begins throwing multiple attacks, which Wai manages to dodge and block. Soon, the coach tries to land more blows on our protagonist, who also goes on the offensive. He finds an opening to grab his coach's neck, which surprises the specialist. Taking advantage of the clinch, he tries to land a knee on the coach, who manages to dodge, but our hero keeps going and pulls the coach's head in with his hand hooked around the neck. He finally manages to land a knee strike on the man's left flank, causing him pain. Still in the clinch, the Muay Thai coach places his hand on a protagonist's chest. Then he pushes him away and breaks him free from the hold. Both fighters step back and the coach says that's enough for now. He says the boy learns fast and that it was a great session where he did very well. He tells Wizong to rest before his next session with Coach Taeyan Yang. Our hero feels really happy that Jang Hyun is his Muay Thai instructor. He wouldn't have been able to learn all this on his own, and he notices that his strength and endurance have improved drastically. He used to hear that strength and endurance couldn't coexist, but he's improved in both. He's grown to another level, which he expected since Ta's functional training delivers results. He's glad that Gorilla Tay's hellish training is actually paying off for our protagonist. Suddenly, he notices Eugene Min quietly sitting down next to him. He asks if she's okay and Min threatens him, but he argues that she chose to sit next to him. Our MC knows that Eugene has been cutting weight, reducing sodium and cutting back on the snacks she used to eat. She doesn't eat anything heavily seasoned, no fried chicken or pizza, and definitely no instant food. Some nuts and small pieces of chocolate are all she eats for a snack. On top of that, she's drinking over 2 liters of water a day because of the fight. Considering her size, drinking that much water is really stressful. The reduced food intake and the training are wearing her out, and she goes to the bathroom a lot because of the water. At that moment, Wizeng smiles at Minyu and tells her there are only 10 days left and that she has to hang in there. Eugene doesn't want his sympathy, and Hai says he's the only one her age, to which she tells him to mind his own business. Our hero sarcastically says her attitude is like a ray of sunshine. Eugene Min's coach tells her that her break is over and that she should drink some water. Sadly, the girl gets up and goes to drink a bottle of water, and the MC feels bad for her. After all, he's sure she's feeling terrible right now. And the coach calls out to him too. His coach also tells him his break is over, and Wen knows he's not doing much better than her. Taeyeon Nyang smiles and says it's time for torture, then corrects himself and says training. As he turns his back, the MC notices that his shirt says he's going to be annihilated. Tae asks what's taking so long, and we see our MC in shock, reading the phrase on the shirt. He jokes that he should write a will in case he really does get annihilated. During this time after Y's fight, the team won 5 matches, 3 of which were by decision. Eugene had a tough fight and won by submission in the 3rd round, becoming a star in her division. Meanwhile, Jang Hyun lost again as he ran out of stamina and took a shot to the chin that knocked him out. T got mad at Jong and laughed, taking it as a compliment and nearly losing his teeth. Finally, the official weigh-in day arrives, and we see the X1 headquarters in SU. Our MC complains a lot about the diet that's draining him, and the coach tells him to stop whining. He notices that the weigh-in is simpler this time with only 2 photographers, which he finds more relaxing. Then the next fighter to step on stage for weigh-in is announced, Wesong Lee. As he removes his clothes, Seong Han is there to hold them while he gets on the scale. Our hero Weezo makes weight once again, hitting exactly 70 kg. They announce that the next fighter to weigh in is Haju. Our hero, however, doesn't know where Huj is since he hasn't seen him yet. At that moment, the blue-haired boy appears, saying he was in the bathroom. Hai almost didn't recognize him because he looks so thin and suspects he was vomiting due to weight cut issues. After a brief exchange, Huj also makes weight exactly at 70 kg. Thus, the weigh-in is concluded. In 10 minutes, there will be a presentation explaining the match between the two. Kwais Lee quickly asks his coach for some water, but the coach says he forgot it in the car, and both Hua and Tag complain about it. Bozaju politely asks to step in and hands a water bottle to our hero. He apologizes for the earlier confusion and says he's been struggling to cut weight because of work. When Hai asks, he explains that he works as an extra in movies that require strength. Zhang Han understands that Hazek is doing what he has to in order to survive, and Hoke says it's just an excuse. He soon leaves, saying he doesn't want to become friends with the man he's going to fight tomorrow. Wei finds him more polite than the other fighter, and Saiyan warns him not to lower his guard. After all, Hosa could annihilate him in the ring, and our MC says his mindset going into the fight is to crush the enemy. At last, the day of the match arrives, and we see our protagonist eating a vegetable with a terrible expression. He feels really irritated, and would give anything to eat some fried chicken in this horrible moment. Yuji Min teases his meal and says she's not off duty since she's going to help Jung, who has a match coming up. Wei thinks this fight must be serious, and Min says Ta will eliminate Jang if he doesn't fight. The girl eats the awful vegetable and says it's not even that bad, so Kwai tells Min to eat the whole thing. Even upset with the food, our MC knows there will be a feast after the fight. Eugene Min leaves some candy on the table and tells him to eat it an hour before the match. That way, his blood flow and endurance levels will rise for the fight. Our MC asks why the sudden kindness, and Min says they're just leftovers. Wizeng Lee knows that she's feeling remorse for her terrible attitude toward him earlier. Annoyed, Yuan Min yells at him, saying those sweets were just leftovers she found. He asks for honesty and tells her to admit she brought them for him. Ijun throws a vegetable at his face. Ijun Min walks away because she needs to help John Han with his fight, and Wizang says goodbye to her. But before she leaves, our protagonist thanks her for the sweets she gave him. Yuzhen doesn't know how to respond to kind words and turns away saying he could have said that earlier. Finally, she tells him not to act like an idiot and to make sure he wins the fight against Hasak. They bump fists and Wizang Li says there's no way he's going to lose. The X1 team watches the fights before Hongs and is impressed by yet another knockout. Tiang asks what he's eating and tells him it's the sweets Eugene Min gave him. As he eats, he complains that it's the most bitter chocolate he's ever had in his life. That he places a towel over his face and starts visualizing the fight, confusing Taeyang. Another teammate isn't sure if he's bluffing or just overly confident. Sang says he was like that before his first fight and that this kind of overconfidence is concerning. Zhang prefers to keep him calm so he'll be fit to fight, and Tae gets angry when he catches him napping. Hai says he was talking with friends about the fight, and Tae says he was dreaming. This gives Han a bad feeling, and shortly after it's announced that the fight is about to begin. In the main card, standing in the blue corner, is our hero, and the crowd erupts with excitement at his appearance. They remember Hizong's performance in his last fight and expect the same this time. They comment on his recovery and physical condition, which looks good, and note this is a New Year's Eve fight. They say X1 has high hopes for him, and this fight is his chance to meet those expectations. Sanghan tells our MC to choose the right moment to strike since his domain is the outer range. Wisely understands, takes in Sing's advice and steps into the ring with overflowing confidence. Soon after, the fighter Haju is announced in the red corner. They notice that the carrot fighter looks bigger and Hua is smaller. There's a 6 kg weight difference. At that moment, the commentators announce Huge's entrance into the cage. They take their positions in front of each other as the referee gives them instructions. Hoi notices that Hasak is taller and generally bigger in build and capable of fighting like a wild dog. The referee asks if both are ready to begin the fight. Once they agree, the match begins and both rush toward each other. His throws several short jabs, and Hasak defends himself by closing his guard and moving. Our hero launches a body kick that Hu blocks by lifting his leg and covering the area with his arm. At that moment, Hasak finds an opening and strikes the vulnerable area with a powerful punch. His dodges to the side and lands a clean combination of blows on his opponent. Ho stares at him with a neutral and intimidating expression, and Hai realizes he's not even slightly tired. Zhang Hun shouts for our hero to throw more punches and keep his distance from the opponent. Suddenly, Huge uses his body momentum to throw a heavier punch. Even though it's blocked by our protagonist, the impact still sends him flying backward. Wasting no time, his opponent throws another punch, trying to break through his guard. Xiang notices that Hasak is pressing in aggressively and not giving Hui any room. However, Wissam Li is blocking what he can't dodge and managing to avoid headshot that would be too dangerous. At that point, he keeps his distance as Hasak prepares a powerful punch to hit him. At the exact moment his opponent throws an uppercut, our hero kicks his torso with full force. He manages to send Haju flying backward with a Muay Thai kick. However, his opponent regains his footing quickly and uses that momentum to launch more attacks. But then a risky move from Hisong shocks Hoke and his entire team is also stunned. Ta thinks he's being cocky. After all, at that moment, Wizang Li completely drops his arms and lowers his guard. Our MC relaxes his shoulders, drops his guard, and hops in place in the middle of the ring. After lowering his guard, he starts warming up in front of Jose like it's nothing. The commentators say he shouldn't be doing that within Hooch's range. His opponent wonders what he's doing, decides to stay focused and keep his rhythm, and tries to hit. But before he can even throw a punch, he takes a quick and precise hit to the face. Haju didn't even see the jab coming and notices the quick follow-up from Hawaii, who's already throwing another punch. This time he lands a full power cross directly on Haju's face. Then he resets his stance and rotates his torso at high speed as if preparing for a kick. He fakes a low kick but switches feet, and Hasak notices he's about to throw a mid-kick. However, the MC plants his left foot to set a base, confusing Hasak, who now has no idea what to expect. Then Wizarding Li does it again, confusing his opponent even more, who closes his guard in fear, seeing him move his feet one last time. Hasek begins bracing for the kick until our protagonist presses his broad back against the octagon cage. The commentators say Joseph Ju has fallen into Wee's trap and is now cornered. Even without a single strike coming, the guy is squirming in fear and everyone finds it amusing. After this embarrassing moment, Haju gets angry and starts running forward to throw a punch at Ki. As soon as he gets close enough, he's hit with an extremely powerful kick. That spitting back kick had enough impact to break Haju's arm. Our hero keeps moving and switching stances quickly with his guard down. Then he lands a high kick right to his opponent's face, who fails to block it, taking the full impact straight to the face. Ho grits his teeth from the pain. AMC recovered incredibly fast, especially since he was the one being dominated earlier. Hasek, nearly crushed against the cage, tries to escape to the side to get away from Y's strikes. While Hasek tries to sidestep, our MC walks and cuts off his escape like a crab. This infuriates his opponent, who prepares a punch to strike our hero. But before Hizoko Juke can hit him, the MC lands a quick jab to his face, stopping the attack. Seeing notices his fins and punches are fast and unpredictable, showing he's really studied for this. Then Hisan Lee throws a few more strikes which Hasek blocks but ends up pressed against the cage. Ho accepts that Kui has found his rhythm and decides to wait for him to throw a big strike to counter. He sees that moment when his opponent jumps to land a heavy punch. He tries to break his rhythm to regain control of the fight and escape from being stuck against the cage. But our MC sees Ho's punch coming and ducks to avoid it. His opponent realizes that Wizong had already anticipated this opening and prepared well in advance. Wyson Lee then lands a powerful knee strike directly to Hasek's torso. His opponent realizes he's not moving fast enough and that his jaw is exposed, so he remembers to lift his guard only to take another knee strike to the stomach. Hoju is in shock from another unexpected body blow. Han celebrates the strikes that Hizong Lee is landing. The commentators say the repeated hits to the head have led to this state. Huison walks toward his target in the octagon and still Jose can't move. Our protagonist takes small steps toward him, but his opponent is trembling on his feet. White stops in front of him and stares while his opponent stands unguarded, unable to throw a punch. The MC imagines it must be frustrating since Jose always focused on stamina and endurance, but he tells him not to be sad because now it's his turn to enjoy himself in the ring. With that, our hero takes on a more confident and fired-up stance, making Hasek even more afraid. Immediately after, he takes a powerful punch right to the face. The commentators say he's defenseless and can't fight anymore as he takes a shot to the stomach. He can't move anymore after those heavy blows to the body and shouldn't even be standing. Wizong Lee keeps striking and Joseph refuses to lose in such a humiliating way. Risking everything, he grabs his opponent's legs, trying to take Hizong to the ground. Our protagonist smiles and plants his feet on the mat just as his mentor taught him. Then he grabs Hasek's arm and spins his body, pushing the opponent away and avoiding the clinch. Zakju is confused as his body turns, and he tries to gather momentum to attack. But before he could react, our hero clasps his hands tightly behind Hasek's neck. Zhang Han is impressed by the technique used by Hizong Lee. He realizes that Wizong is using the plum, a Muay Thai plum clinch, and has locked his opponent in it. His grips his opponent firmly and Hose can't break free from the clinch. Completely trapped, our hero's target takes an extremely powerful knee strike. The impact of Quizon Lee's knee is explosive as it lands directly on Hoke's abdomen. After the hit, Hodge desperately tries to escape and raise his guard. Hasek's coach sees him taking multiple knees and shouts at him to get out of there. Hisoko tries throwing several punches to make Wizon Lee release him from the plum clinch, but our MC is dominating the fight and tanking the punches as if they were nothing. Still holding his opponent's neck in the clinch, isn't affected by the punches and lands another knee strike. The knee strikes him stop and Hoju can't defend himself. He's at a disadvantage. It's becoming a dangerous situation for Ho, and no matter how much endurance he has, there are limits. Now the MC pulls his striking leg back, preparing for another knee, and Ho tries to block it. Even blocking the knee with his hands, the impact breaks through and penetrates his guard. His left days a blow which landed clean despite his attempted defense. With no strength left, Hosek drops to his knees in the ring, and he starts punching him to finish the fight. Sing Hun shouts for our MC to press down on his opponent's neck. Now, Wise Lee follows the command and presses Hsek's neck while continuing to punch him on the ground. Jose's coach tells him to grab the opponent and take him down to try for a submission. But as the blue-haired boy takes multiple punches, he can barely move to do anything. Still using the last strength in his body, he grabs the MC and throws him to the ground. But Quizong doesn't let himself fall. He grabs Ho's shoulders and pushes back against him. Then he wraps his arms around Ho's neck in a choke hold to end the fight once and for all. He locks in the choke with both arms, a rear naked choke. The commentator is surprised that the counter used was a rear naked choke submission. He notes that Wisdom secured it well, leaving Hasak in a very tough spot. Hasak-ju struggles hard not to be submitted in the chokehold. Our protagonist uses all of his strength to finish the fight with a rear naked choke. Suddenly, Hoso-ju's eyes roll back and he lets out a breath like someone who just passed out. Right after that, the referee tells our MC to stop and uses his elbow to separate them. As soon as Hasak collapses unconscious, it's announced that Wizun won by submission. The commentators say that Hasak, who seemed like a fortress of iron, was taken down by Hissen. Everyone agrees that Wiz Lee has proven his worth as a newcomer in the M&A world. He wins again in the first round with only 4 minutes of the fight elapse. After his victory is announced, our protagonist screams in joy over the achievement. His coach, Taeyang, is so happy he tells him to come give him a hug. Another teammate says Kwai is amazing for having learned that Chuck holds so recently. He also notices Zhang Han's strange reaction in that moment. He realizes that Hai wants more action, and even someone as calm as Seong gets excited watching the fights. It reminds him of the emotions and passion he felt when he first started in M&A. He says Hai did great, that today is his big day and encourages him to do whatever he wants. The giant TA says they should celebrate with his victory song, and Suya calmly protests. Suddenly, we see the characters in a bar clinking beer mugs in celebration. On a call with his mother, our MC says everyone is non-stop celebrating his victory. He hears something strange in her voice and asks if she's been drinking. She says yes because he won. Quizm tells her to take it easy since she doesn't handle alcohol well, and she tells him not to worry. Suddenly, his mom starts apologizing repeatedly, and the MC asks why. She says that instead of supporting him in doing what he loves, she discouraged him, and he admits he was stubborn too. His mother felt like she sent her son to the battlefield in exchange for just a few coins. She regrets that he went through hard times because of the sport and missed out on enjoying his childhood. Suddenly, she begins to cry and breaks down, saying she's been a terrible mother. Out of nowhere, the voice changes, and Hisong's father arrives to calm down his mother, who got too excited. His father says she drank a little too much and tells Wiz to enjoy himself while he takes care of her. The MC asks him to cheer her up because she seems sad, and his father says he will then congratulates him on the fight. Wisang Lee thanks his father for the support and hangs up the phone to get back to celebrating. Our hero knows there's still a long road ahead before his mother stops worrying, but he remains calm knowing that with his team, he can do anything he wants. Someone finds a video online of Tai carrying the MC around the ring while he sings into a microphone. The friends watching the video say he's the guest of honor and should sing instead of fight. Then they joke that the team was embarrassed and Tuss said, and he sings worse than a ghost. Eugene Min, who was keeping a serious expression, starts laughing and tries to hide it. This makes our MC mad. He starts joking and cursing at his friends playfully. January 20th arrives at the official Elite SC gym the day of the Central League. Taeyang is seen choking someone and says he's a lost cause. Very angry, he says he's asked him several times to slow down and the man tries to stay calm. Another person on the team says that John Hun did a good job today and he thanks him. John Hun sits down tired and frustrated and someone shows up with a soda to cheer him up. The fighter thanks was on Lee for the gesture and they start chatting. He apologizes for how things turned out even though we helped him. RMC tries to cheer him up by saying at least he didn't lose the fight but also didn't win. After a tough first round, he almost won when he landed an uppercut in the second round. Coach Taeyang shouted for him to take it slow and stay steady in the fight, but Jang Huang got too excited and kept punching the opponent's tight guard non-stop. Eventually, he got exhausted and left his jaw completely exposed. That's when both fighters landed punches to each other's jaws at the same time. At that moment, they both fell to the ground and the referee declared the match a technical draw. Even though he didn't lose his professional debut, didn't impress many people. Jang expected to scold him, but Hui says he's probably been scolded enough already. Our MC knows Jang is talented, but his fear of the ring causes him to freeze during fights, and he can imagine the stress his friend is going through right now. To encourage Jang Hyun, he says he's sure he'll win his next fight, but John doesn't seem very happy and says something to our ring king. He says he's been thinking about just quitting MMA altogether. At that exact moment, someone interrupts and says it's time for them to go. Suddenly, John changes the subject and pretends to be cheerful, but Hai tells him to spit it out already. Then he pretends he forgot what he was going to say and stays quiet. He tells them to hurry before Coach Ta gets mad at them. Arcane of the Ring walks behind Jang while keeping a close eye on him. He also notices that for some strange reason his friend's back looks smaller that day. As soon as they arrive at the gym, they receive some good news. Unchong is the first from their team to officially sign a contract with SSC. Everyone celebrates the fact that they finally have an SFC fighter on their team and rejoice. Our MC feels it's unfair that Jung did poorly in his debut while Yun Chong signed with SFC. Yukjun says that even so, Jang is still celebrating and Huai wonders how he's managing that. C tells everyone to calm down because there's another announcement and says the fight will be in mid-June and they'll meet an assistant. Everyone's eyes light up and Siang asks if anyone's interested and they all say yes. One of them says he's been on the team longer and should get more points. Another says attitude matters more and that he's never been late in 6 years. Han asks the other men on the team and they didn't even know they could be assistants. The coach says it's obvious. After all, they're all part of the team too. They get excited, but Sang says this only applies to those who have debuted professionally. They're disappointed, but Sean Han says those are higher-up orders and they can't blame him. They soon ask who he's going to choose and C says he has a fair way to decide. He slaps his hand against the wall and says they're going to settle it with a game of coast leg. Tell him to draw a line and pick a number and he'll shuffle everything. At that moment, all the fighters begin drawing lines, hoping to be chosen. Once it's done, Sang Hun says that regardless of the result, he doesn't want any complaints. The assistant coach begins following the lines to find out who will be the second coach, and Quizung is chosen. He celebrates a lot but apologizes saying he was just testing his luck and didn't expect to win. Siam Han congratulates our King of the Ring, who bits embarrassed about being picked to make sure he asks if he has the qualifications for it like a sports certificate. He doesn't, but to be a second coach he needs a government-issued license. So he asks if Wisley really doesn't have it, and our MC says he doesn't. Cold and direct Zhang Hun says that because of that he won't be able to go. Our fighter is devastated and the other fighters cheer and celebrate his loss. The line-drawing game resumes, but our hero hasn't given up yet and interrupts them. He says he'll get that license before the SEC fight day. Sen Hunt asks if he really plans to get the license now. He says the fight is already scheduled for June and there won't be time to get the certificate. Our MC shows that the Level 2 sports coach test is in May and the results come out quickly. Excited, he says there will be plenty of time before June arrives. Tai interrupts and says they can't just wait, not knowing whether he'll pass or not. Our fighter has no argument against Ta's irrefutable logic and doesn't respond. Tap proposes that if he passes he can go to the SSC, but if he fails he must take the team out to dinner and spend a lot of money. Tae says it's not a bad deal after all since Gu is making his own money now and can afford it. He considers taking the deal since Ta made a good point and he just needs to pass the test, but he feels something suspicious about the coach's proposal. He notices even Han is acting strange and whispering with Taeyang. Under pressure, the MC accepts the deal and says he can handle spending 300,000 won if he loses. Taeyang says it's a deal and tells who he can't back out now. Everyone on the team starts saying they'll get a free dinner and planning what they'll eat. Kai tells them not to get overconfident because he knows Ki will give his all for this. Then he says they still don't know who he'll replace him when the kid fails. Wai-sung Lee stays up all night studying that same day and his parents notice it. The next morning, Sang-guk shows up after a long time. Sang-han is surprised as it had been a while since Coach Sang-guk had come to the gym. He asks if the coach has had breakfast and Sang-guk says he already ate. He notices Seong-han kept the place clean and organized while he was gone. Sang-guk knows Seong is detail-oriented, which is why he left without worrying about the gym. Suddenly, he sees Wizong early in the morning locked in a room and Seong says he's studying. The coach asks why he's studying and Seong says it's to become a level 2 coach. After all, he was chosen to be second coach in an SSC fight, but he doesn't have the certificate. Sang-guk tells the boy to do that later and Seong says he's very stubborn. Sang already knows what the coach wants to say, but he explains that things got out of hand. Coach Sanguk looks downcast because things are never easy in this world. Stanguk says he got a fight for Kwisum and Seong says there's no reason to turn it down until he says it's a lightweight match which shocks Hun. He argues that we should be in a lower weight class since his opponents are bigger. If now facing bigger opponents, it's only a matter of time until he faces people at his level. Siang says he has no experience with cutting weight and doesn't know if he can handle studying and doing that. Coach Sanguk decides to talk to the boy after hearing that. After hearing the coach's proposal without hesitation, he accepts the offer. Sanguk asks if he really heard it and we understands that he has to drop to lightweight. He has to lose 10 kilos and it won't be easy because he must study and train at the same time. We wants to try and says he'll study in his free time so it won't interfere with training. The coach says it's not something he can just do carelessly and we says he'll make it. He asks for a chance to try and says if things start to go wrong he'll stop, and Sanguk realizes he really is stubborn. But after thinking it over, he decides to go along with the plan and Hisong thanks him. However, he adds the condition that he must train, sleep properly and stick to his diet. If he slips up, the deal is off. In other words, staying up late studying and waking up early to train won't be allowed. Sanguk also says he'll prepare for the fight alongside him as his coach. He explains that this opponent is different from the others and that they need to come in with a clear strategy. For that reason, Sanguk will be the second coach, even though this match is less significant. He says that this time, winning or losing doesn't matter. The way he fights will define his worth as a fighter. He asks if the King of the Ring understands and our MC says yes with a hint of fear. He reminds him that the fight is the priority, and if he messes it all up with a poor decision, all his effort will be wasted. Faison promises to give his all, and Sanguk demands a more assertive and confident attitude from him. So our protagonist stands up and shouts that he'll give everything he's got during this period and in the fight. Hearing the boy's excitement and confidence, the coach is satisfied. Then he hands over a sheet with information about the fighter he'll be facing. He reads the name and notices it's Mizushima. We's first fight against a foreigner. Sanguk says his opponent is a fighter coming from Japan. We see Yuck Mizushima, a typical nerd with huge glasses and part of Team Mataro. He talks with Mr. Kanoja and says there's nothing new at the moment. He mentions that earlier he got a few cents in change and feels bad about it, and his friend tells him not to worry. Sunny overthinks, wondering if the customer needed those coins and missed the subway because of it. Mr. Kainsada tells him to be easier on himself so he can get along better with people. His boss says he worked well today and will now take over the finance counter. Leaving the place where he works, Yuck Mizushima bumps into someone and apologizes. He walks down the street looking bored until he finally arrives at the martial arts gym where he trains. As soon as he arrives with his nerdy posture, everyone stops and stares at Yuck. He enters a room and begins to change, revealing a muscular body. Putting on training clothes and Muay Thai gloves, we see he has a well-built physique. Yuck Mizushima starts warming up and throwing punches at the gym's punching bag. He lands extremely powerful punches on the bag, and everyone stops and stares at him. Mizushima punches with a manic expression until someone calls his attention. His coach yells and says he told him to go to his office as quickly as possible. He asks why Mizushima is punching the bag like an idiot. Very irritated, his coach doesn't want to hear excuses and tells him to look at something. It's about his next fight at the end of May against a fighter from X1. Usef Mizushima reads the paper and sees our King of the Ring on Lee. He immediately shows a completely psychotic expression upon seeing his next opponent. Later that night, back at the attack team gym, our MC continues studying, but he gives up trying to understand what he's reading. It just won't sink in. Yujim asks if he's trying to show off with how much he's studying. She says there's a room specifically for that, and we says he just came out for some air. As she heads out, she asks him to make sure he locks the door, but he asks her to wait a moment and questions if she can explain something he read. He says he has no idea what the explanation means based on the type of question. However, the girl says she didn't get that part either and tells him he just has to memorize it all. Right after that, she starts explaining various things to him and we stares at her love struck. Looking more closely, he notices her beauty and understands why they call her the goddess of M, and he sees she has big clear eyes like crystals. He also notices her skin is soft like silk and figures is because she's an athlete. She even smells nice until he snapped back to reality when she asks what he's staring at. At that moment, he ends up complimenting her pleasant scent and she gets flustered. Our protagonist gets tongue-tied after praising her and turns into a complete goof. Also shy, Yoojin Min says the nice smell is because she just got out of the shower. Our protagonist agrees and says he figured that was the reason. Yoojin Min asks if he has any other questions and our hero says that was it. He starts to feel strained because he'd expected the girl to get mad, but instead she was sweet. This makes him swallow hard in embarrassment and then he calls Eugene's attention. After that, he shyly asks if she'd like to walk home with him. At that moment, there's an awkward silence between them and he thinks he's ruined everything. He breaks the ice by pretending Han asked him to do something. The girl then asks how long it's going to take him to do that task. Showing that she wants to walk home with him, she asks if he's going to take long. Shocked by her positive response, our MC says it might take a little while. Then she says she only asked out of curiosity and starts to leave, and the two say goodbye. Our MC is left very embarrassed and shy, wondering what just happened. At that moment, his phone starts ringing and he sees messages from his coach. His coach sends him a video of the fighter Yuck Mizashima and tells him to take a look. It wasn't where MC was hoping for. He wanted a message from Eugene Min. Still, he clicks on the video and starts watching, impressed by what he sees on screen. He wonders what's up with that guy because what he saw was seriously surprising. After that, Eugene went back to acting as if nothing had happened and he felt more at ease. While he's lost in thought, the coach asks why he looks so worn out. He asks if the MC isn't overdoing it and why says no, he's just waiting to train. Sanguk asks if he watched the video he sent and our MC says yes. Sanguk asks what he thought and our MC says Mizashima is totally crazy. He says that in the video you punched incredibly fast and most people wouldn't be able to react without getting knocked out. But the real issue with Yuck Mizashima is that he seems to have anger problems. He kept attacking opponents even after they were down and couldn't control his temper and frenzy at that moment. The look on his face was terrifying. Didn't seem like the same person from the weigh-in. He says that even Hyuk Choi looked like a brat compared to Yuck Mizashima. Sanguk says that out of 11 fights, he won 10 and holds the X1 record with 6 consecutive knockout victories. Being one of the best fighters, the plan would be a head-on fight, but Yuck still has the upper hand. Sangukot has come up with a strategy through his studies, but our MC hasn't reached that part yet. The coach asks if he saw a particular fight and Kui says he did. Da Choi won by technical knockout. His coach assures him that the answer to his fight lies in watching Choi's match against John. After all, John Sakalia was clearly and objectively stronger and faster than Choi. Even so, Choi's punches landed first, and even when they attacked at the same time, John took more damage. When asked why that happened, RMC has a guess. But seeing that his student doesn't really know, Sanguk explains it's about precision and timing. Choi threw his punches half a beat earlier, and even though John was faster, Choi hit first. He gives with a tip to dodge and counterattack to break the target's rhythm and get inside their head. He tells him to aim precisely for vital spots so that the power behind the punches won't matter. He tells him to focus on these points during his upcoming training, and we ask if it's possible with only 3 months left. Sagnuk says that normally it's not enough time to improve but tells him he'll manage. Our MC thinks his coach is overestimating him a lot. Sanguk says he has talent, overwhelms his opponents, and has instincts. He just needs to learn how to bring them out. Then he asks if there's anything his student didn't quite understand and Wee says no. When Rizong says he got it all, his coach tells him to start training. We see our protagonist training with battle ropes, screaming from the effort. After that, the coach told him to work on conditioning before practicing any technique. Tiang mocks our MC saying the kid is doing well and it makes him mad. His coaches assign him CrossFit-style conditioning drills. It consists of 15 pull-ups with an extra 10 kilos attached to his waist, then 30 push-ups with the same 10 kilos on his back. Next, 40 sit-ups while carrying the same weight. Finally, 50 air squats holding the 10 kilos in his arms. Additionally, he did 70 resistance exercises using ropes and heavy-duty resistance bands. The goal of the sets was to complete them as fast as possible with 5 sets and a 2-minute rest between each. Even with the 2-minute breaks, the sets took longer and longer to finish. By the end, it took him 3 minutes to complete, and when he finished the rope waves, he felt relieved. Taeyang told him to shut his mouth and breathe only through his nose. Struggling and out of breath, our MC obeyed and Ta congratulated him. Who shows his trembling arm and Ta tells him to stop slacking off if he's shaking that much. He asks how long he's supposed to do this, and Tae says Sanguk wants him to train 3 times a week. Lee is shocked, and so is Taeyang, who thinks it should be even more often. Our MC learned that overtraining causes injuries, and Tala says that's exactly why he's there. The King of the Ring says he needs courage and determination now to reach his goals. Sag shows up and asks if the boy is already worn out, and Tae says he drained everything from him. Sanguk then says it's finally time to begin his skill training. He says the first step will be the double-end bag that hangs in the air. Following Sanguk's orders, Jang Hyun demonstrates how to hit the bag. After his first punch, the ball swings back toward him and he dodges in the opposite direction. The coach explains that this equipment is used to train precision, speed, and footwork. Trying to replicate what he saw Jang Hyun do, the MC throws a basic weak punch. As soon as he does, the punching bag starts coming back toward him. However, he fails and says the bag bounced wrong and didn't go where he wanted. Sanguk tells him he's thinking of a stationary target and that he must master punching while the bag bounces side to side. Next, he introduces the tap ball, which improves reflexes and precision for sharp awareness and visual stimuli. Jang Hyun shows our MC how to use it, punching the ball rapidly. Then he dodges by turning his torso away from the direction the ball on his head is coming from. A small ball attached by a string to Jung's head swings toward Kwizun Lee. The MC dodges and says the ball's swing is intense, and the coach says that's due to its size. Then the fighter places the ball on his forehead and tries his first simple punch. At high speed, the ball comes back and he manages to dodge and hit it again. Once he gets the hang of striking the ball, our MC finds it really fun and the coach gets annoyed. Jung says Hua is very talented since this type of ball training is for professionals. Suddenly, the coach tells our MC to use his elbow when striking. Caught off guard, our hero throws an elbow and executes it very well. The small training ball swings erratically and stops right in front of Hui's face. But at the last second, our MC manages to dodge and the ball hits Taeyang in the face. Laughing but clearly irritated, Tai asks if he did something to upset Hisang. Then he starts chasing after Wizang Lee in anger after taking a ball to the face. Sanguk saw that the ball sped up and curved, but Hue predicted it would come at his face and dodged it. He realizes his potential was confirmed with that training and plans to use it to enhance his skills. However, he wonders when the training session's vibe turned into this chaotic mess. After a long day of training, our hero gets off the bus, feeling extremely tired. He still can't get used to the double-end bag because he had to think consciously with every punch. He knows no one would need to train if they could land a perfect hit on the first try without effort. Suddenly, our hero runs into his mom in the middle of the street and gets startled. He asks what she's doing out so late and she says she was out with old friends. He smells something in her hair and realizes it came from a meat festival. Then his mom asks why he's out so late and he says he has a fight coming up and was training. His mom questions if he wasn't studying to earn a certificate and he says he's doing both. She says he hardly ever rests when he has a fight and that she knows he's going to do what he wants. Y realizes that she used to hate even hearing about M and A and now she's starting to accept it. He tells her not to worry because he's going to win and she says it doesn't matter whether he gets hurt or not. The MC smells fried fish and invites his mom to have a quick meal and she asks if he's on a diet. Our hero says he's not cutting calories yet and that he can eat, then runs off excitedly. His mother smiles, seeing that he's still the same child as always. Right after, she smells the meat festival scent on her clothes and thinks about buying a deodorizer. Some time passes and now May has arrived and we see Hai in a testing room. The exam to become a level 2 sports coach is about to begin. Time passes and he returns to the gym uncertain about how he did and decides to wait for the results. Taeyang tells him to start training and our MC decides to warm up first. He begins training with the aerial double-end bag, dodging it to build reflexes. Sanguk asks Tai how Wizung is doing and he says the kid has improved on the bag, but he adds that Hizung is sensitive and has very low energy, and Sanguk says there's nothing they can do about that. He says weight cutting is always intense and has 2 periods that are especially exhausting. The first period is dehydration during the week before the weigh-in and the other is during strength training. As soon as a fighter dehydrates, their body and muscles shrink and weaken. Fighters focus on strength and endurance training so that when they rehydrate, they return to their former state. During this time, they must reduce their intake of creatine, a supplement that retains a lot of water. It's much more exhausting because both the diet and training are high intensity and they can't even consume protein powder. Tae says Gizung is working hard and Sanguk says he's a fighter worth teaching. Tae says he's keeping his promise, improving with every session and doing far better than expected. Sanguk says he's still very young and already told Seong to keep an eye on him to ensure he doesn't lose control. Taeyong promises that to the coach and says it's time for the training circuit. Meanwhile, the coach starts to feel that Tom might be the source of Hisong's stress. Then the official MA match day draws near. A fighter from the gym says goodbye to the others and our MC feels terrible. He says there's a rumor that eating salty food makes you more aggressive. But even just eating bland, healthy food, he's filled with rage. He says the same goes for training. A simple resistance circuit makes his arms shake uncontrollably. He's also been urinating frequently and clear like water, and every time he goes he feels like he's losing vital energy. When he went for a checkup at the clinic sponsored by their team, he was on the verge of collapse. Still feeling unwell on the floor, Eugene Min shows up and asks if he's not going home. Short-tempered due to his current condition, he says she doesn't even care about him and tells her to leave. Eugene Min is shocked by Huizo's rude response and stays silent. He remembers Eugene being harsh with him when she was preparing for a fight and now he understands her. At that moment the girl throws him a sealed bag and tells Weasley to take it. Inside the bag are some nuts and grains and Min tells him to eat. It will ease his hunger. Our hero notices that the nuts were peeled and counted precisely by her. He imagines she stayed up late peeling the nuts just to give them to him, but the girl says to give them back if he doesn't want them. Still, he eats them with a sour face and says they taste terrible. Even so, he thanks her for thinking of him and she says they weren't for him. Convinced they actually were for him, RMC asks if they were just leftovers again. The girl gets shy and decides to leave, but before she can go, the MC calls out to her. He invites Eugene to share a meal with him after his match and she accepts. Our MC feels happy and laughs, but even laughing makes him tired, so he decides it's best to head home. Suddenly his phone starts ringing and he wonders who's calling so late. He sees that it's his father calling and immediately picks up. His dad asks if Weasley is busy right now, and Hay replies that he was about to go home. He asks if something happened and his father says something that leaves him in shock. It involves an emergency room. Our MC runs into the hospital as fast as he can. When he arrives, he says he needs to see Gangu Lee and the receptionist asks if he's a relative. Weasley says he's his father and shouts asking if he's okay, and the woman asks him to calm down. His father with his head bandaged says others might have thought he had passed away. In shock, we asks what happened and why his head is bandaged. His father says they're not alone in the hospital and asks Quizung to speak quietly. Our MC doesn't seem to care much about that and is very worried about his father. He asks why his dad is dressed like that and why he went to work without a suit that morning. Why holds back tears and his father tells him they should talk in a more private place. Sitting in the lounge, his father says work got difficult and he had to leave his old job, and because of the debts they need to pay, he started working in construction. His father says everything will be okay in a few years, but we can't hide his worries seeing his father injured. It hits our MC and he asks if his mom is also working. His father says she's working at a restaurant. Upset, Wisdom Lee asks why neither of them told him anything. Wisong apologizes and his father says there's no reason for him to apologize. He says he knew his father used to give gifts to his sports coaches. Back then, Wisong thought it was normal, but now he regrets quitting when he had the chance. Wee's grandmother said not to let we give up on sports anymore. His father wasn't even investing in the stock market yet. He wanted to save money to invest in his son. He should have said that the dividends he made from investing were enough and trusted and supported his son. Crying. He says he was just a kid who gave up on everything, a complete failure. He cries even harder and says now he's depending on both of his parents again. But at that moment, his father raises his voice to stop his son's breakdown. He says they never saw Hui as a burden and things wouldn't have been easier if he made different choices. He tells him not to fool himself. They didn't make those decisions against their will and chose to support him. No matter the outcome, it wasn't Hui's fault. He was too young at the time and couldn't have done it differently. Then his father places a hand on his shoulder in a gesture of affection and says, everyone in the world had their own battles. Life isn't just full of good things. He says money problems and injuries are part of life and one day all of this will pass. He says their family is healthy and his son became independent. There's nothing to worry about. He tells him not to lower his head because his parents are very proud and happy with him. Makizison begins to cry uncontrollably upon hearing his father's kind words. He asks his dad how his head is, and his father says he took too long to ask. Jen worries about how his mom will react, and his dad says she's on a work trip and will be gone for 10 days. His father tells him he should go because he is training the next day, and he asks if he's kicking him out. Our hero sighs and says his dad really is stubborn. He asks where his mom works, and his father says it's better if he doesn't go there because it'll make her uncomfortable. Kwizang says he'll keep his distance. He just wants to see the place where she works for himself. Gang Lee tells him to go now since the restaurant's about to close. A co-worker at John Kim's job asks if she's going to take much longer to finish cleaning. His mom apologizes to the woman and says she'll be done in just a moment. Meanwhile, our hero watches the scene from outside through the glass. Wai says that even when his mom's going through hard times, she tries to stay strong. This makes our protagonist deeply sad and he starts to cry. Walking away from the place, he hopes with all his heart that his mom can endure and clenches his fists. After that, he becomes determined to win his match no matter what happens. A day passes and we see Wai's training with intense anger, punching hard. He hits the pad with all his strength and the person holding it struggles to keep it steady. Next, our fighter dodges with ease, making very quick movements. Then he lands a massive punch, and the man holding the pad tells him to take it easy. Sanguk asks what's going on, and Tae says he's been acting like a zombie for days. His coach says Kwizang has a fight in a few days and tells him not to overtrain. The coach is worried about the boy because he doesn't know what's happened to him. He sees that it's not just fighting spirit that has changed. He's dodging with minimal movement. He's keeping his eyes on Teljin's timing and movements and reading all of his strikes. Sanguk smiles and says his student has grown a lot, feeling proud of the prodigy fighter. At the moment, the boy lands a powerful punch. Sanguk hopes he'll show his worth to the world. Finally, the day of the weigh-in arrives and our hero hits the incredible 70-kilo mark again. Yuck Mizashima weighs in at 69 kilos. Then they do the stare down and take a few promotional photos for the fight. Quite notices that Mizashima is smaller than he expected, but has a lot of muscle and probably didn't lose much weight. He finds it strange. It's the first time he's facing someone smaller than himself. Oddly, his opponent starts whispering negatively, saying inaudible things. Wiser Lee gives a confident smirk and calls his opponent's attention. He asks if he thinks it's fun to toy with his enemies like that and calls him a psychopath. In response, Mizashima whispers that he's the best and the strongest. The referee separates them and announces the end of the weigh-in event. Our hero smiles at Yuck Mizashima, who stares back with a cold, strange look. Sanghan asks why Hoya is provoking his opponent and he says, Yuck started it. He says Mizashima keeps muttering like an insane person and Sang realizes the rumors are true. Why is sure Mizashima doesn't care about him and treats him like a punching bag. Still, our MC actually appreciates that because it means he's being underestimated. Finally, the day of the fight arrives and our hero prepares by hitting pads with Sean Hun. Sun Han says he's sharp as ever and tells our MC to take a rest. The prodigy fighter sits down and takes a moment to breathe and recover. Saguk asks what's on his mind since he seems unusually calm today. Wai tells him to stop staring because it's making him shy and Sanguk insists on an answer. Our MC says he's thinking about what the coach said, how this fight will prove his worth. That made him wonder what his worth as a fighter really is. And Sanguk asks what his answer is. Kui says it wouldn't be fun to answer that now and tells him to wait for the fight. Laughing, Sanguk says Ki never changes and will wait for the fight to get his answer. Someone announces that the previous match has just ended and says it's almost time for him to enter. Sanguk says it's time to fight to win and then celebrate with chicken and drinks. Wisong Lee gets excited and agrees with his coach. It's announced that the main card fight of X1 is about to begin. They introduce Wizong in the blue corner and the boy throws hearts to the crowd looking very confident. The announcer says he should be confident. He showed great skill in his previous fights. However, he adds that his opponent won't be an easy task as he's one of the top lightweights. In the red corner, they introduce the human weapon fighter Mizashima and mention his entrance with an Oni mask. They say he sometimes goes over the top, but he's been on a strong winning streak lately. Sanguk tells him to use his jabs to get the advantage and to stay calm when under pressure. Then, excited, he tells him to go all in and step into the ring. Mizashima's coach tells him to do well or he'll lose offers, and the fighter says he will. The referee then tells both fighters to enter the octagon, and they do. They notice a clear size and weight difference between the two, making people question if they're in the same weight class. Mizashima has a 5 cm height advantage and is 6 kilos heavier. One commentator thinks it might be a disadvantage, but the other says Yuck has beaten stronger opponents before. Still, the same goes for Hai since Mizashima has an edge in experience. The commentators conclude that this match will be a clash between physicality and experience. Then the referee asks if both fighters are ready to start, and he shouts that the fight has begun, and we immediately see Yuck Mizushima's psychotic expression. Commentators narrate and say both fighters are moving cautiously, wondering who will take the initiative. Suvin. The first strike comes from Mizushima and is blocked by our hero. He then uses a combination and throws a strong left hook. The Kame of the Ring easily ducks and dodges the hook, which we've been devastating. However, Mizushima follows up with an uppercut and our hero dodges again, stepping backward. Our hero uses footwork while Mizushima stays aggressive and ready to strike more. Quick continues evasive and the commentators say he's dodging with ease and graceful movement. Our protagonist repeats his dodges several more times, eyes lock on his target. As soon as he sees an opening, he throws a punch to the face that is blocked by his opponent. He immediately follows with a low kick that hits Yuck Mizushima's calf. Mizushima takes the hit and lowers his stance as he moves forward to punch our NC. His Lee barely avoids the punch, just missing it with a head slip. He ducks his head to the opposite side and narrowly escapes, stepping out wide to gain distance. The commentators are amazed that from the very beginning both fighters have put on incredible display. They stare each other down, both with cold and calm eyes. Suddenly, Yuck Mizushima charges in with speed to land another heavy punch on Hui. He throws a series of rapid punches that our MC evades easily by stepping back with small movements. But the straight punch was a trap. Mashima closes the distance fast and presses forward. He continues with his flurry of punches, determined to land a hit no matter what. Our MC stays composed and dodges all of his opponent's strikes. Soon, he's nearly hit in the face again, but manages to evade at the very last second. One of Mizushima's punches breaks through Hisong's guard and lands. The impact sends our protagonist backward, slamming his back into the cage. This seems to be Mizushima's moment as he's breaking through Hai's defense with his punches. Our hero ducks low and shoves Mizushima to stop the barrage of punches. Then he escapes the clinch and begins circling around him inside the cage. However, Mizushima doesn't let him get away and quickly closes the distance again. At this point, he begins showing his psychotic side, smiling because he enjoys hurting people. He immediately launches another storm of punches, making things dangerous for Lee. Yuck Mizushima's coach grows concerned as he had told him not to lose control like this. The barrage of punches continues with Mizushima's terrifying aggression in full force. Our protagonist stays calm, holding a high guard and blocking the blows. Sunhan looks worried since even while blocking, the situation is turning against Hai. Sanguk says he's not just getting hit and tells to watch more carefully. A rhythm reveals Quizun's perfect timing as he catches one of Yuck's punches. Our MC is counting the timing of each punch from his opponent, who charges with a crazed expression. As soon as Mizushima throws the punch, our MC had already predicted it. He easily dodges. He keeps counting like a metronome while Mizushima charges up another heavy punch. He rotates his whole body and throws all his weight into a powerful straight punch. The clock hits the central beat, and at that moment, Wizun Lee makes a risky move. He dodges toward Mizushima's vulnerable side and lands a hook to his face. The moment the Japanese fighter takes the strong punch to the face, he freezes and goes limp. Our hero capitalizes on it and delivers a heavy uppercut to his opponent's chin. He keeps counting the seconds between strikes and lands another punch to the face, knocking Mizushima down. Sanguk and Quizung's friends cheer and the crowd is completely stunned. The commentators are blown away by the turnaround and by Hai's skillful strikes that dropped his opponent. Sanguk realizes he studied his opponent, and retaliated once Mizushima started attacking recklessly. Now our MC calls for applause from the crowd, radiating confidence even though the match isn't over. Smiling and overly confident, our MC points at his down opponent and mocks him. At that moment, Yuck Mizushima becomes furious, filled with overwhelming rage. Since neither fighter was moving, the referee tells them to stand up. They face each other once again and the atmosphere is changed dramatically. Mizushima's posture is different now. He no longer has that crazed look and makes the first move. He keeps his distance, throwing jabs and straights, always aiming at his enemy's head. Our MC wonders what's going on since he thought that was his opponent's preferred range. He quickly starts to get excited and lands an uppercut, breaking Mizushima's guard. His enemy becomes furious after losing his guard and tries to counter with a powerful straight punch. Wison Lee notices he's closing in and continues dodging and predicting his strikes. He slips his arm under Mizushima's and manages to land another uppercut. Even after taking several punches to the face, Yuck Mizashima tries to fight back, but instead he takes a double hook and ends up completely overwhelmed. Then the Japanese fighter hits the kamias again for the second time. As he's about to get up, a fast and unpredictable strike from Hui comes his way. Before he can rise, he takes a knee strike and can't land his kick. He loses balance and stumbles backward, slamming his back into the cage and feeling immense pain. Unable to react, he takes another knee, this time to the stomach. Our MC leaps in and throws a punch simultaneously, not letting Mizashima catch his breath. At that moment, the Japanese fighter's guard starts to fail and the strikes land easily. A combination of head kicks hits Yuzuk, who can barely lift his guard in time. Seeing the attacks breaking through, Mizashima tries to escape to the sides, but he freezes in shock when he sees both of his opponent's arms raised high. His moves with his hands up as if inviting more, and Yuck is terrified. Yuck Mizashima raises his guard and retreats in a timid defensive posture. Suddenly, our MC throws it straight out of nowhere, and Mizashima manages to dodge sideways. Mizashima counters by jumping and landing a left hook. Our MC leans his torso back and dodges effortlessly but finnies. Mizashima had already predicted he would dodge, which is why he tries to throw an even stronger punch. He uses all his strength and shifts his body, claiming this is the real punch. Wizen Lee is startled to see his opponent's hand so close to his face, but at the last second he jerks his head to the side and dodges it. Mizashima gets irritated as Hisong easily evades all of his sudden attacks. His opponent shows an angry, disgusted expression. Meanwhile, our protagonist mocks him, flashing a peace sign with his hand. Usef Mizashima is filled with rage, seeing his punches fail. At that moment, the Japanese fighter lets out a scream of hatred and tries another punch. Missing again, he throws a furious flurry of strikes, and Hisong dodges everyone. As Wai evades a hook, Yuck wonders why he can't land a single hit. Lee avoids and escapes all of Yuck Mizashima's attacks as if he were dancing. Suddenly, our MC throws a perfect kick to Mizashima's flank, landing it hard. Yuck Mizashima tightens his guard in case another body kick comes, but our hero fakes a kick and starts footwork that resembles dancing. His coaches and teammates laugh and tell him to stop playing around. Our hero keeps getting into his opponent's head, making mocking gestures at him. In response, the Japanese fighter becomes even angrier and curses our protagonist. Yuck Mizashima's coach yells at him, saying it's a trap. Blinded by rage, Mizashima throws a very strong punch that he dodges. After ducking, our hero begins to break through his opponent's guard and lands a very powerful punch right to his face. Mizashima fell for Hisong's taunt and paid the price by taking a heavy blow. Yuzuk hit the ground for the third time and the came of the ring close in again. Mizashima is in severe pain, his face covered in tomato sauce. Our hero subdues Yuck, grabs his leg, and everyone knows the end is near for him. An elbow strike cuts through Mizashima's guard and hits him with great force. The commentators point out the ketchup splattered all over the octagon. Our MC knows this is frustrating for Mizashima, but still believes he deserves this beating. Why makes him feel what it's like to be the one who can't even catch his breath, just like Yuck did to others. He believes Yuzuk has no right to feel sorry for himself, and as he lands another punch says this is karma. Even before the punch landed, Mizashima already looked nearly unconscious. Then the referee tells Waisung Lee to stop and our MC punches the ground next to his opponent's face. The referee steps in and ends the match at that moment. They comment that since Lee's debut, all three of his fights have ended in first-round victories. There are no words to describe it as the newcomer is shaking up the MMA world. Hai throws his mouthguard into the crowd and people say, every lightweight fighter will have their eyes on him. The arena erupts in cheers, shouting Waizan Lee's name. Everyone raises their hands and chants the name of our hero is. The commentators say the king of the octagon defeated Mizashima in just 3 minutes of the first round. When this is announced, the crowd, the protagonist, starts yelling in pure joy. After the match, they comment on how quickly news about the fight is spreading. Online reactions are positive, praising his style and stage presence. Sanguk thinks there was no other way to see that fight and Numi's son has changed since he used to be stoic. However, he finds the laughter and hug toward Hisong embarrassing because he was never like that. Suddenly, Sanguk is startled by a shout from Husong Lee and asks what happened. Our protagonist says the results of the test he took for the coaching license just came out. Proudly, the fighter shows the result to his coach and says he passed the test. Excited, he says he's going to get his passport now and asks what the weather is like in the US. Then he calls his mom, asks if she saw the fight, says it was easy to win and tells her he's going to travel. His teammates are shocked because they were sure he wouldn't pass the test. However, we made a mistake. He still needs to pass the oral and practical exams to get the certification. In short, Wizomi isn't going anywhere until he finishes the remaining exams. The coaches feel doomed because he won't stop talking about America to his mom. Our MC is obsessed with talking about burgers and the US in general. People at the gym ask why he's acting like this and think it'll last only a week. At that moment, Sun Hun Park shows up and our MC asks what he can do for him. He apologizes and we does too for being a fool of the past 4 months and they forgive each other. Han says he's busy and asks if we can pay Eugene a visit. Xiang says she called since she was sick and lives alone with no one to check on her. Where the other fighters hear this, they all volunteer to visit the sick Eugene. Xiang says the others are filthy animals, so Wizong is the only one left to do the job. Knowing he has nothing to do after the fight, he's asked to bring her food and medicine and clean Eugene's house. The MC asks if he can buy something for himself and Sang says yes, just don't forget the receipt. Our hero decides to go right away and asks to send him Eugene Min's address. In front of Eugene's building, the MC is surprised that she owns her own place at 23. Kwaisun Lee walks past reception with a shopping bag, saying he's her friend. Entering the building, he assumes it must be his friend's place. He rings the doorbell and Eugene Min, looking awful, answers and asks who it is. Our MC is startled and says she looks terrible and he's going to have nightmares about it. The girl is shocked to see Wiz on there, slams the door in his face and tells him to wait. The fighter asks what she's doing, saying he came all this way just to have the door slammed on him. Ijun asks why he's there and we says sent him because she's sick. The girl wished someone had warned her first and why Thought had done that. We understands her confusion and asks her to open the door and she tells him to wait a little. Hearing loud noises inside the apartment, Hoi says she seems fine for someone who's supposedly sick. After some time spent getting ready, the girl says Kwizang can come in. Upon entering, our protagonist notices a worn-out blanket on the table. Our hero says he brought her porridge and she replies that she's not hungry. Even so, he tells her to eat and not just lie around, saying that'll only make it worse and tells her to stop being stubborn. She gives in and says there's a small table in the kitchen where he can place the porridge. The two sit down and begin eating. And Eugene says eats like a dog. Meanwhile, she eats slowly with a shy expression on her face. When Hei invited Eugene for a meal, he never imagined it would be at her place. He asks how long she's been sick and Min says it's been 3 days and the other 2 are even worse. Then he asks if she's feeling better and the girl says a little better than before. Our MC asks if she's taken a shower because her hair is all messy. She says she did and tells him to smell her hair, but Ki pretends it stinks and refuses. The girl laughs a bit and says it's actually nice to have company in a time like this. However, she follows up by saying it would be better if it were anyone else. She says she watched his fight and Hai replies that no illness could keep her from watching his match. Then Eugene Min admits that Wisdom Lee fought really well in that bout. She says she was surprised because she knew he was good, but yesterday he was on another level. Our protagonist thanks her for the compliments and says he's blushing from embarrassment. Then the girl says it wasn't a compliment because she would never praise Wizan Lee. Out of nowhere, the girl opens up and says she actually really hates our protagonist. Our MC is shocked and then says she never really tried to hide that from him. But she says that now that she's getting to know him better, she sees he's not that bad. At first, she thought he was selfish and arrogant, taking advantage of an opportunity anyone would kill for. However, the girl admits she was wrong about who is own Lee. She says he has real skills, he's very dedicated, and he's not arrogant, he's confident. She adds that when he acts cocky, it still annoys her and Wai tells her to keep the compliments coming. Ijun apologizes for judging him without knowing him and he says she doesn't need to apologize. Min says she's saying it not just for him, but also to feel better about herself. Suddenly she sighs and rests her head on the bed and we asks if Min is okay. He puts his hand on her forehead to check her temperature and a girl asks what he's doing. Hoisin lightly taps her forehead and tells her to stop acting so tough. Our MC nemesis, her fever has worsened and realizes she's really sick, and he knows she's been pushing herself hard. MA fighters are vulnerable to illness due to weight cutting and intense training which lowers their immunity. We knows Eugene had 2 fights in 10 months plus photo shoots and events. At that moment, our hero helps the girl get up and tells her to lie down in her bed. He gives her medicine and tells Eugene to get some sleep and they'll talk more afterward. Our MC stands by waiting for Eugene Min to lie down and cover herself until she starts to sleep. Seeing that she's fallen asleep, Quisley decides to clean the apartment before leaving. Murmuring in her sleep, the girl calls out to Quizon and thanks him for everything, saying she doesn't hate him anymore. She says he's still an idiot, but our hero understands that's just part of Eugene's personality. Some time passes and Wizon Lee finishes washing all his friends' dishes. Suddenly, he comes across a closed door and starts wondering what's behind it. As soon as he opens it, he sees clothes scattered everywhere and a huge mess behind the door. He notices tons of dirty laundry and can't tell if anything is clean, so he decides to wash everything. A while later, Wiz Lee leaves Eugene Men's apartment. Arriving at the gym, a fighter says he was about to call them. He tells him to head to the office because Quizon has visitors. The CEO of X1 says he was in the area and decided to visit their gym. He asks why Wei looks tense, and if something's wrong and Wei says no, he just wants to know what the visit is about. He came to talk about the contract and wanted to keep it between him and the coach who insisted on bringing Wei in. RMC says he doesn't understand much about contracts in business and asks if there's something special going on. The CEO says it's about renewing Wizon's contract, but there are a few issues. Annoyed, the old man says they got a call from SFC and they want Lee. The old man asks if Wizung isn't surprised and our MC says he's actually stunned. The CEO got irritated because no one had ever mentioned Huey before and now suddenly they want him in SSC. Huey asks why they contacted the CEO first, and the old man says they're being polite for now before making an offer. The old man doesn't want him to go because it's too early and it's hard to survive there at that level. You're at the top and he thinks it's better to build a career first. He's not going to stop Why if he insists, but he preferred he stay because we makes him money. The CEO isn't baiting him to stay, but there will be benefits at X1 and can still review the SSC offer. His base salary will be 8 million won with a 100% bonus per win. That's what he and Coach Kwang were discussing, and the final decision is up to him. Hoisin would rather leave it to Sang because he's itching to sign the contract right now. Stanguk says they should discuss more than just the money. After all, there's the reputation of SFC and what it represents. They're the biggest stage in the world and offer the same to any fighter who wants to join. The CEO says reputation doesn't matter anymore. The way they used to treat fighters is a thing of the past. Sanguk says that's their perspective, but it's different for young fighters. The old man says young people are different these days and wants to hear the coach's terms since he insists. Sanguk asks for 10 million, one up front and another 10 per win, and asks what they think. RMC heard he could receive 20 million, one for national championship events. The old man asks if that's everything and says he doesn't need to be afraid of pushing the limits. Because of their good relationship, the old man offers 12 million as a starting salary for Hawaii. The CEO offers 12 million won base salary and 12 million bonus for each victory. Both our hero and his coach are surprised by the 12 million offer. On top of that, the sponsors the money could reach 30 million per year. However, they're not giving this money away for free. He needs to win his next fight. Surprise, our MC asks what happens if he loses that next fight. If that happens, they'll renegotiate the terms with Juan and reduce both salary and bonus to 10 million. Both the fighter and coach Juan think that's a fair deal. Sanguk asks if the CEO is hiding anything. Not that he doubts him, but he finds the offer odd. The old man can't give details yet because they're working on a project and want we to be part of it. After Juan asks what the project is, the CEO says that if it works, the MA and market will grow significantly. That's all the old man can share, but he assures them they have nothing to lose by making this deal. Then the CEO says they have an agreement, thanks them for the decision and says it was worth the visit. He says he'll send a temporary contract, and after the next match they'll sign the official one. He apologizes for showing up unannounced and says goodbye while they thank him for visiting. Before leaving, he advises Quizon to treat his coach well because there are few like him. Smiling, the King of the Ring says he's always very grateful to his coach. The CEO is pleased to hear that and says he's expecting great things from Quizon Lee. Excited, or MC wonders if they hit the jackpot with his contract. He asks if something is bothering the coach, and he says he has a feeling there's a catch because CEO Yang isn't the type who likes to lose and he knows this won't be a failure. He just doesn't know what the CEO has planned for Huey. And the MC asks if he's a shady person. After his coach says he's not and has never stabbed anyone in the back, the MC feels reassured. He asks if we trust the CEO, and the boy says he trusts Juan since he's brought him this far. His coach says not to trust people so easily or he'll be fooled one day. Our MC asks if there's anything valuable enough to be taken from him, and the coach says maybe. He says it's a risk worth taking. After all, he's only at the top because of his coach, and it's the least he can do for him. Juan says the kid knows just what to say and tells him to stop smiling because he's starting to like him. Then he tells him not to tell anyone until it's official. He doesn't want anyone getting mad. After that, he asks about Eugene and Wise says she'll be fine. He food and medicine. Sagmek says he did well and advises him to go home early and get some rest. Afterward, the coach is reading his book and gets interrupted by a message. The message is from our protagonist saying he loves his coach, Juan. He immediately starts laughing and feels happy receiving a message like that from his annoying student. Our MC feels his heart racing, because with one more win his salary will increase to 12 million won. And if he gets sponsored and earns bonuses with just 2 fights, that money could reach 80 million won per year. Because everything is going so well, he feels anxious and afraid that things might go wrong. But beyond that, the best news right now is that he has the attention of the SFC. Regardless of the outcome ahead, he could become the second fighter from his team to join the SFC after Chang. He feels like he's been handed a winning ticket to reach the place every fighter dreams of. All of this within a year, and he finally feels like he's doing his part. He feels that if he keeps this up, he'll at least be able to repay a little of what he owes his parents. Suddenly, the protagonist gets a call from his friend Yoojun Min. He asks what's going on with her. She should be resting right now. The girl screams in panic, asking if he touched the inside of her closet. She says everything was organized and demands to know if he opened the closet. Our hero replies that he washed and organized things, and she gets angry because she didn't ask him to do that. His says if this is about underwear, he only washed it. He didn't smell anything. He says he didn't know he wasn't supposed to touch it since she had nothing to wear, and Min says that was none of his business. Even so, it's no use. And Yoojun Min tells him he didn't use his brain and shouldn't have gone in there. Our MC says whatever, tells her to go back to sleep and rest, but she keeps cursing him out. He actually feels relieved seeing Min so furious and thinks maybe he should lie down for a bit now. June is approaching fast and a pizza delivery arrives at his house. He tells his friends that the chicken and pizza are here. He sets the food on the table for him and his friends to eat. They all watch a fight on TV and the MC says he's more nervous than when he fights himself. His friends agree with him and they all watch an SFC match on television. In the blue corner, fighter Ricardo D. Silva with 12 fights and no losses. In the red corner, welterweight fighter from South Korea, Chang Kang. The referee asks if both fighters are ready and they stare each other down in fighting stance. Finally, the ref tells them to begin and both charge at one another. Right away, fighter Chang Kang lands a powerful hook on Ricardo Silva. He gains the upper hand early in the fight, taking him to the ground. His friends cheer, but as the fight goes on, Ricardo Silva lands a punch on Unch. He starts getting attacked heavily in the beginning of round 2, as if he spent all his energy in round 1. Time passes, and by the end of the 3rd round, both fighters look exhausted, but Ricardo Silva with sheer will charges at Unchange. It's a desperate move. He grabs his opponent's torso and legs. Unchan looks like he's struggling to stay on his feet and nearly goes down. His friends watching on TV are shocked and tense. As soon as Yun Chang hits the ground, he counters with a chokehold and locks his legs around him. The choke starts to take effect and Ricardo Silva looks close to passing out. At that moment, the opponent taps 3 times, signaling submission, and loses the match to Yan. The end of the fight is announced and Chang Kang starts shouting and celebrating his victory. His friends watching from Korea cheer loudly, thrilled by his win. Our MC sees that it's different. These are national champions, but in the SFC there are no rankings yet, which means there are dozens of fighters above even these 2 who are considered the best. After witnessing on-site, he confirms that renewing his contract with X1 was the smart move. He still has a long journey ahead before debuting on a stage like the SSC. Our MC isn't in a rush. He wants to conquer X1 first and foremost. The phone starts ringing and amid his friends shouting, he goes to answer it. As soon as he picks up, he hears the voice of Diksong who asks Squai who answered instead of one of the coaches. He explains that they all watched Chang's debut together and Dusk asks how the fight went. He says Chang won in the 3rd round with a chokehold and Dix is surprised since it's hard to win in the DFC. But Hui says he's not exactly a champion. He barely managed that fight and only won by luck. Dixon continues the conversation because he had something to discuss with our protagonist. He says he's thinking of putting the fighter in a main event in September. Some time passes and Chang starts talking to his friends about the fight and how he won. Si-Han arrives at that moment and asks why Hai looks so gloomy if he received a good offer. Wai asks how things went in the United States and Sing says it wasn't a vacation. He was very busy there. He then asks what the girls in America were like, and Kong says they were very sexy. He tells his pupil to stop talking nonsense and asks about the offer, and Wei says it's in September. He says he hasn't confirmed yet, but Sing asks about the opponent and the MC says he's worried. He says they gave him 2 options and recommended he go against Eduardo Pereira, and Sing is shocked. The MC thinks it's ridiculous since they want to put him against the #1 ranked fighter, and says the other is Jai and Kim ranked 3rd. Zhang Han makes a worried face and says neither of them will be easy. He says calling them difficult is an understatement. Pereira is known for his brutality. He mentions that Pereira leaves his opponents crippled due to elbow strikes and arm locks. Those who are lucky end up in rehabilitation, and many never return to the octagon. He's also known for having used steroids and diuretics and was caught using all of it. Because of these accusations, he was expelled from 2 associations and couldn't renew contracts. One mistake in HU's career as a fighter might be over after this match. He says not to worry too much about jab, but it won't be easy either. He's known as the lightweight gatekeeper. He's like a reaper for low-level fighters and holds the record for defeating rising champions. Based on what Siang said, Wai thinks it's better to choose Jai, though it's not a simple task since he'll be the main event. He says 80% of Jayan's victories are by decision, not knockout. Main events are 5 rounds and Jay has great stamina. They'll be tough since Ki has never fought more than 2 rounds. He must knock Jay out within 2 rounds since in 20 fights, Ya has never been defeated by KO or submission. Style-wise, facing Pereira would actually be better than facing Jai. Hai asks what he should do and Sing says he doesn't know. It's best they do some research and plan a strategy. Sun Han tells him to watch videos of both fighters to decide who to face. They finish their drinks and Wiz Li goes home but can't sleep. Even after watching 2 hours of fight videos of both, he can't decide. He wouldn't have asked Sang for help if he knew it would end like this. He'll have to choose one of them. Suddenly, his phone vibrates and he wonders who's messaging him at this hour. He sees a message from his coach asking if he's asleep. Our MC replies that he's still up watching videos and asks if it's something important. His coach says he'll explain over the phone and Waizan picks up immediately. Juan says Siang told him about the difficulty he's having choosing between the 2 fighters. He tells him to stop wasting time thinking about it and to choose with courage. But Hoi thinks that's reckless. Sanguk says that people with his talent have good instincts for this and no fight will be easy anyway. Juan asks if Gui doesn't trust him if he really thinks he would let him lose, and the MC says he trusts him. Our MC decides to make the decision based on his instincts, and Juan tells him not to rush it. After that, the MC reflects on what his coach said. There's no use weighing pros and cons endlessly. As expected from his coach, he feels everything became much clearer afterward. Kwaisan Lee starts to laugh and says his coach has been the man from the start. Then we see a ball fall near someone and a child runs to retrieve it. As the child bends down to pick up the ball, he sees Pereira with a frightening expression on his face. However, the child calls him dad and both start smiling, clearly happy to see each other. A son notices his father came home early and Pereira says he wanted to see him as soon as possible. He says he was playing soccer and that he's really good. He even scored a goal and Pereira says he wishes he had seen it. Pereira feels sad for missing the moment, and his son promises to score another goal for him. Juan's friends start pressuring him to bring the ball back so they can keep playing. His father tells him he'll stay right there and wait until he's done playing with his friends. The boy's friends think his father looks scary, but he insists that his dad isn't. This brings a proud expression to Pereira's face as he looks at his son. A man approaches and talks to Pereira, commenting that kids grow up fast. Casa asks if the fighter can keep his phone on. Pereira recognizes him and says it's been a long time since they last met. The fighter asks how Casa found him, and the man replies that he asked his ex. He gets angry and asks why he spoke to his ex, and Costa says he wouldn't have needed to if Pereira's phone was on. Pereira says he only gets to see his son once a month, and Costa says he's only there because it's urgent. He tells the fighter that he received an offer from X1. The fight will be in September in Seoul, South Korea, and the opponent specifically asked to fight him. They made an offer. His manager needs to give an answer soon, but Pereira says he doesn't want to fight. Pereira says he's won 9 matches in X1 and hasn't gotten any title. He's not about to crawl back now. The older man tells him to stop crossing the line, and that's why people don't like him. Eduardo Pereira argues that he does whatever it takes to win his fights. He says he's already fighting to earn his living and support himself. Glancing at his son as he says this, he asks if Casa knows how much support a child needs, and the older man says that's exactly why Pereira should behave. He tells him that to win titles, he needs to show a certain level of sportsmanship toward his opponents. Pereira thinks they're just losers tired of losing and says he has other reasons for refusing. He turns down the offer, but the advisor changes his mind by saying he could earn a title. The older man says that if Eduardo wins this fight, he'll get the chance to fight for a championship belt. Immediately, Pereira grabs the offer paper and says this is what he's been waiting for all along. He then calls his son Juan over to speak with the boy. He tells the older man he's going to the cafe on the corner to talk with Juan and will be right back. His colleague gets irritated because Eduardo crumpled the paper with a contract and offer. Pereira tells his son he might become a champion soon and the boy is overjoyed. Eduardo says he'll become the strongest man and Vaughn will be the son of the strongest man. Father and son laugh together and celebrate his possible victory. Meanwhile, we see Hisong Lee shouting and begging for mercy during training. His coach tells him not to give up just because his wrist gets grabbed, but Hai thinks it's a waste of time to endure it. The coach asks if he's going to act like that in the actual fight if that's how he plans to face high-level fighters. The blonde coach wonders what he's going to do with this lazy kid. Then he tries to give the MC an idea, saying he'll beat just this once. He says that if Quinn manages to pin him at least once, he'll buy his lunch for an entire month. The MC's eyes light up, and the coach says he'll pay for anything he wants to eat for lunch every day of the month. Immediately, our MC gets up and says he won't back down, and the coach says he'll only do that if we wins. Right away, Wiz Lee takes a fighting stance and gets ready. His coach is happy with his fighting spirit and also gets into position. The coach charges at the MC trying to grab his waist. The MC is shocked by the rush and suddenly sees the man's hands going for his neck. He realizes it was a fake out and that the coach was actually going for an overhook to pin him. In response, the king of the ring decides to do the same, grabbing the coach's bicep. Right after, he sweeps his foot to break the coach's balance. As the coach bends down, the MC gains the upper hand and grabs his thigh, taking advantage of holding both the thigh and torso. He throws the coach over and slams him to the ground. He brings the coach down, who hits the mat on his back and realizes Wee's takedown technique is solid. The MC pins his arm and should now grab the waist and get his arm under the coach's to complete the hold. His coach starts smiling knowing that's exactly what Hay is thinking, and he plans to surprise him. He locks his leg around Hui's back, which we forgot to immobilize. Then he spins his body backward in a full rotation, pulling Wei's arm. He throws his other leg over the MC's shoulder, locking him completely in a leg submission hold. Wei is shocked to realize he was caught in an instant and needs to roll out before it's too late. Suddenly, he feels pressure and finds himself completely immobilized, both his arms and legs. His coach starts smiling and says he was faster than our protagonist. Our hero admits he's great and asks him to let go so they can fight again. His coach says he should light a fire under his butt so he understands real pain. Quiz begins to panic and begs the man not to do that, but the coach doesn't listen to our MC, and next we see screaming in pain. With the MC lying on the ground, the man says he fought well and might win lunch next time. Some time passes, and while the king of the ring recovers, Seong Han says he did well. Seong Han says he watched the whole match and that Wiz Lee is pretty good at grappling. He says Hai is at the level of Soo Yuk Lee, a brown belt, and the MC actually feels good hearing that. He finds it frustrating not being able to use his techniques, and Sang knows that beginners aren't suited to attempt takedowns. Even so, Wizong Lee is scoring takedowns and grapples without falling to the ground. He notes that Soo and Wee have similar builds, and if Suk couldn't take the MC down, no fighter at this weight class will. Jan Han thinks that's the advantage of the boy having practiced Serum. Most fighters don't know Serum in Korea or outside it, which makes facing quite difficult since they haven't had time to train against it. Serum becomes the king of the ring's exclusive skill. What he lacks is more experience, and cheap tricks won't work on him. This training session had good results. He says X1 wants to do a random drug test and will collect his urine and hair tomorrow. Asks if they'll do the same with Pereira and you sure Pereira would be caught. Xiang thinks they should test everyone regularly, and Hai becomes concerned about his supplements. Xiang says none of that is illegal unless the kid's been secretly eating something he shouldn't. They joke about whether the fried chicken he eats could show up in the results. After they stop laughing, Sun Hun stares at our protagonist. He asks if he's been eating fried chicken and then repeats the question with a threatening tone. To dodge Song's question, our MC calls Sayak for another round of training. So asks about the chicken and whether Hui ate it with soy sauce, but Hai says it was with chili. Ihan approaches with a menacing tone when he realizes why I ate spicy fried chicken. He grabs Quest's shoulders and gives him a lecture for eating junk food so close to the fight. Our MC tries to escape the situation, saying he only took a few bites of the chicken. Xian gets really angry and says the chicken had chili and way too much fat. He still has weight to lose. Running from the MC says he only took 3 bites and that it couldn't have made him gain weight. Even so, the man keeps chasing after him, furious at Quizong's stupidity. Sayak and Tai think everyone acts weird around Hei Li, and it's all his fault. Our MC falls to the ground and Xiang orders them to find out what else he's been eating and adjust his diet. After that situation, our hero is seen running down the street, breathing in 3 counts. Sang Han rides a bike behind him and tells him to keep up his running pace. Then he orders Wisomi to start shadow boxing while running. He encourages him to keep moving non-stop and our MC follows every command. After the exhausting workout, the King of the Ring finally gets to take a relieving shower. Soon after he's allowed to eat but feels disgusted by the dish in front of him. Xian asks if he lost his appetite and we says the food looks too good. He mentions that it's been 2 weeks and that it's bound to wear down our protagonist. He knows Pereira has a better physique so stand a chance they raised his weight to 80 kg. They kept his water levels low to cut weight and reduce sodium intake since it retains water. Humans get aggressive under stress, and it's inevitable when stress lasts too long. Wizong hasn't lost control yet. He's just emotional and you'd actually penny him if he ever got aggressive. But just as he's thinking that, Guai tells Kong to fetch him some water, and now he feels no pity at all. Sheng brings the water and talks to someone, saying that Huey already trained and is taking a break. Xing seems to be talking to a superior and says they'll meet soon and that Hui will be ready. When he confirms it was the CEO, our MC asks why he called so early. Han says that Pereira just arrived in Korea and wants Hui ready for the press conference. Then we see what happened 1 week before the fight at the press conference. Our protagonist and his colleague arrived on time without any delays. Wisingly complains about the suit, saying it's very uncomfortable. His colleague Kong says suits are never comfortable. As soon as the two arrive, the CEO of X1 announces that the fighter has entered the room. The entire press is stunned and starts taking countless photos of our hero. Our MC greets the old man who asks the training is going well and who he says it is. It will be his first press conference, and we says he's ready because he'll just be himself and asks if there's anything he can't say. The old man tells him there's nothing to worry about. He just shouldn't swear. Wisomly promises to watch his language. After that, the X1 CEO shows the MC his seat and the time for the press conference approaches. Hei notices that Pereira still hasn't arrived even though the other fighters are already there. Someone whispers something in the CEO's ear and he quickly goes to the microphone. He apologizes and asks everyone for patience as Pereira will be late due to traffic. In the meantime, they'll proceed with interviews of the co-main event fighters. We thinks it's easy to get lost in a country you don't know and that there's nothing to be done. After another 20 minutes pass, the X1 CEO is overwhelmed with rage. The old man starts trembling with anger and our MC thinks Pereira has no manners. The interview with Jihan Park and Min Hyun wraps up and Eduardo Pereira still hasn't shown up. So, Quizon Lee's interview begins and he says he'll be participating in X1's main event. The press is surprised by his confidence and someone raises a hand for a question. They mention rumors that he's a rookie who's never competed in another organization. Y says he entered MMA a year ago and his fight with Subium was both his debut and first match. He says he debuted with no league experience and explains he was a substitute because Subium's opponent got injured. The man is shocked. Y had trained for only 3 weeks before his debut and had no prior MMA knowledge. Another person stands up and introduces himself as Suno Kang from M Sports. He comments that Huey is on a first-round winning streak and asks how his training has been. Y says that once he learned about his opponent, he began training and strategizing with his team. The journalist asks if that's all and Wissam asks if he's supposed to say anything else. Several journalists begin introducing themselves to ask more questions to our protagonist. Then the CEO wonders if this is really his first press conference, which seems way too confident. He says the way his words grab people's attention makes it seem like he was born for this. The old man considers him a very interesting person. He then informs the reporters that they'll need to take a break from the interviews. After all, the fighter Eduardo Pereira has finally arrived. As soon as Pereira arrives, he starts whining about the delay and blames the traffic. Seeing how he's dressed, the MC thinks he considers himself too important for this conference. Speaking in Portuguese, Pereira asks if the boy is Wiz On Lee. He extends his hand to the MC and Pereira's translator says he wished him a good fight. Even though our MC thinks he's arrogant, he shakes his hand and greets him respectfully. Speaking in his own language, Pereira calls Wizong weak and not even worth fighting. Embarrassed, the translator tells the MC that Eduardo said he hopes he gives his best in the fight. Arrogant, the fighter sits down and grabs the microphone, saying he'll answer everything honestly. Before any journalist can finish a question, Eduardo starts getting irritated. He angrily complains if the best they can ask is about his opponent. He asks if what they really want to know is about the offer and why he agreed to the fight. He knows they want to hear why he accepted it and admits he was reluctant at first until CEO Yang made him an offer he couldn't refuse. The deal is that if he wins, he'll give a shot the title and the journalists are surprised. He tells them to write that this fight is one step toward him holding a championship belt in a year. Yang, the CEO, then says that the interview time is over for today and ends the session. Our MC raises his hand and asks if this conference is really being held for the upcoming fight. He calls his opponent arrogant, saying he needs to defeat him in order to get a shot at the title. A journalist asks if he's confident he can beat Pereira, and Wizong says yes. He says Pereira won't get anywhere near the championship belt because he's too full of himself. Eduardo lets out a sigh and asks how Wizong Lee plans to beat him. Our hero tells him to find out soon and says he's watched Pereira fight and thought he looked sloppy. Kara knows why he wants to be the center of attention, but talking more than he can deliver is pointless. Why? Says he's just pointing out facts and comments on Eduardo's baldness and steroid use. Pereira gets very angry and tells him to watch it because he's crossing a line with no return. Our MC tells him not to be shy. Everyone knows he likes to fight on steroids. Yang tells him not to criticize his opponent and Hua apologizes and asks Pereira to cover his forehead. He says he won't be able to hold back his laughter if he sees his bald head again. Suddenly, his opponent throws a water bottle in his direction. It hits the table and he swears our protagonist in pure rage. He stands up from his chair in fury and says he's going to rip Wizong Lee's tongue out. Unbothered, our hero says that although his hairline is receding, at least his lungs are healthy. Even more furious, Eduardo Pereira asks what the hell he just said. Wizong Lee says that because of the raging dog, he'll end this press conference now. He says he always fights as the declared underdog. Yet, no one has lasted more than one round against him. He comments that the only difference between Pereira and his last opponent is that Pereira loves steroids. RMC keeps making jokes about his opponent's baldness in front of everyone. Shortly after, the end of the press conference is announced and they thank everyone for coming. Afterward, RMC talks to the CEO and asks if he ruined everything at the conference. Yang says if he was worried about that, he could have brought it up at the time. He knows reporters are sharp and his comments about drugs might come back to haunt him. He also says that the moment Eduardo mentioned the title, the entire schedule was thrown out the window. Our MC tells Yang not to worry. There's no way he'll let him get anywhere near that title.